Let's go. Welcome to On the Attack with Mac Live, a podcast meant to inspire, motivate, and even educate you to go out there and win in life. I'm your host, Cornell Mac, and your boy is geeked up because, hey, I'm going to tell you right now, we got a motivational minute coming to you today. We got Tate's word of the week. We got some winners of the week. And then we got a guest interview with my homie, John Pajak, the budgets, break evens, and bottom lines guru. We're going to be talking about getting your money right. And I cannot wait because I know it's going to be a fire episode. Me and John got some great chemistry, and we're going to come here to help you get your money right. So get those questions ready, and we will get to him here in about 15 to 20 minutes. But before we do anything, we got to say what's up to Kenny's Lawn Service, Austin Willett, Professional Lawn Maintenance, DK Lawn Service, Alex Gill, D's Lawn Care Services, Easy Green Lawn Maintenance 23, Beeves Landscaping, Seeds Landscaping, and LBC OG Turf Nutrition Management Podcast. What's going on with you? Over here on that was on Instagram. Over here on YouTube, we got William Smith, G6 Landscaping and Snow Removal, Bees Grass Cutting, CLP Lawn Care. There's 11 people over here. So if you're on YouTube and you want to get shouted out, man, you gotta hit that comment section. What you waiting on? I want to see who's here with me today. But it's gonna be a fun show, and I am super excited. My homie Mo Wells just got here over on Instagram. We are going to have a good show for you today. And we got to start with this week's motivational minute. Let me hit this thing real quick. I do it all. I'm the producer, I'm the talent, I am the speaker. I don't know. I'm doing everything right now. I'm the editor. I do it all. All right. And sometimes I forget to hit these things, but I didn't today. And today I want to talk to you in this motivational minute about imagination and opportunity. Two of the things that God has blessed you with is both an imagination and then a whole lot of opportunities. I know for me, I was given an opportunity to go down to the Lawn Care Life conference, and I used that opportunity. I walked through the door. As they say, doors of opportunity are only open to those who knock. So I ask you, what will you do? Will you knock on those doors of opportunity and wait for someone to open the door for you? Will you use your imagination that God gave you to be able to even see the opportunities that are out there? I would encourage you to do both. Use your imagination because sometimes the opportunities could be camouflaged, but they are out there for you to take advantage of. And all you got to do is take the imagination that you got and create something with it. All right, knock on the doors of opportunity because people will be there to let you in. Here in 2025, if you want to thrive, you got to use your imagination. Sometimes you got to think outside of the box. That's why God gave you imagination. He put things inside your heart, inside your soul, inside this here noggin of yours, so that you could be able to find those opportunities when they are given to you. Some people act, some people don't. The people who don't act, they live in regret. I don't want to live like that anymore. And so now, with this imagination that God gave me, I am seeing these opportunities that are put here in front of me and taking advantage of them. I encourage you to do that too. We're going to be here quick because John Pajak is already in here, but he gave me the opportunity, and we're going to use our imagination to help you win in life and get your money right. Because in 2025, I hope and I pray for you to use that imagination and those opportunities to go out there and win in your life. And that concludes this week's motivational minute. We will now get over here to this week's winner of the week. Like I said, I was down at the Lawn Care Life conference over the weekend, and we'll get to more of those festivities here in a second in the weekly recap. But while I was down there were some giveaways, and I only remember three of the people who won. But one of these winners of the week is my homie James Braden of Braden's Lawn Care. He won three different giveaways. He won the Cujo prize package. Shout out to Cujo. He won the $50 Home Depot gift card from the landscaping bookkeepers, Joey and May. I think it's Joey and Megan Cobley. I hope I'm not butchering her name, but I got to meet Joey and had a great conversation with him. The landscaping bookkeepers they're legit. All right. They don't endorse me or anything, but I'm telling you, I met that guy. He got God first. And that is powerful when it comes to your finances, which we will talk about here in a second. But they won the $50 Home Depot gift card, and then they won the prize of all prizes, which was the 30-inch commercial X mower commercial X mark lawnmower. It's a push mower, but man, that thing looked like it was a beast. I wish I could have won it, but I couldn't have got that thing home on the airplane. But also, we had Elias Baltazar. I think that's how you say their last name. BLC Lawn Care. My homie Elias. They won the Crest Commercial Prize Package, which was a whole lot of fire battery equipment, backpack blowers, pole saws, hedge trimmers, string trimmers, all types of good stuff from those good people over there at Crest out. I think it's called Crest Commercial Outdoor Power Equipment. But that stuff is dope. And you know, my favorite color is black and red. I'll buy things just because of that. All right. There was some Milwaukee stuff given away too. I don't remember who won that, but last but certainly not least, the other winner of the week that I know, there was other people that won stuff. I just don't remember who they were, and I didn't think to write those things down. These is just off the top of my head. But my homie David Bratton with Mallard Outdoor Lawn Services also won a Crest backpack blower. So that was dope, man. Those people won some good stuff to help them go out there and win in their business with some good equipment. So shout out to everyone who won besides the people that I named. But those are this week's winner of the week. And now let me get to Tate's word of the week. I got to pull this up real quick. So give me a hot second. And while I'm at it, we'll say what's going on to Terry Williams, Generational Wealth, Grants and Sons, Hughes Professional Lawn Maintenance, Acres Lawn Care, Adam Yard Service, Carter Ridge Road, Matthew Mattress by Appointment, Sudbury. That's a lot to say. TJ SUSMC. I don't know how to say that. But yeah, flu games on the no, I didn't get those, but and then over here on the comments we have Braden's Lawn Care, who I just talked about, Penn Brothers down here at Penn Brothers Lawn and Landscaping, Volkswagen Planet. What's going on? Lone Wolf Landscaping down here, William Smith. I hope I said all of those people. But let me get to Tate's word of the week real quick. I gotta look it up because he sent it to me in the DMs. He always does, but this one is going to be fire. Where's it at? Where's it at? There it is. All right. And this week's word of the week by my homie Marcus Tate, the LBC OG. Always sending us a good word so that we can start our week off right. And you know how it goes on Mondays. We got to hook you up with something to get you through the week. We might have some new things coming in the future. I won't let the cat out of the bag. But this week's word of the week is water. This is one of the most important things that we need to live. Water is so great. It can take three different forms: solid, liquid, and gas. One of Bruce Lee's most famous quotes is be like water. He says it can flow or it can crash. Let's apply this to our life. We have to be able to adjust and adapt to so many different situations that arise in our lives. At times we need to flow, and sometimes we have to be strong enough to power through the hard times. So let us be like the fountain of water that springs from us to give us life to the people with whom we come into contact. But for whoever drinks of the water, that shall give him n- that will give him never ending thirst. But water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. That is from John chapter 14 verse 4, chapter 4 verse 14 in the New King James version of the Bible. Shout out to Marcus Tate, always sending us some dope words of encouragement and then a dope Bible verse for you to go look up, read, and learn from yourself. We got more people over here. My homie Mallard Allen, that's my man. He just won that thing. He was a winner of the week this week. Grants and Sons is in the building. DMAC Lawns, my lawn care cousin, and Dead to Black is also in the building. Shout out to everyone who's watching right now. Let me get to this weekly recap, and then we will get my homie John Pajak in here. So if you got any questions, again, do me a favor and put them down in the comment section, either on Instagram if you're watching there or on YouTube, where you should be watching. But this week's weekly recap, we had a couple snow events before I left to go to Alabama, and I was able to take care of one, but the other one happened on Thursday when I left to go to Alabama. So shout out to my homie Tommy with TM Landscape, and he knocked out my sites for me to make sure nobody was stuck in the snow. I don't know even know how much we got, but I do know I left my house at like 4 in the morning, and it takes about 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes to get to the airport from my house. And by the time I got to the airport, it was snowing. My truck was covered and everyone's cars were covered that were out there where the airport is at in Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh International Airport. Shout out to them. But yeah, so we had some snow events, got those taken care of, and now we got some warm weather here on the horizon. So it's about to be Mulch Madness, baby, here in the early parts of March. So I'm excited about that. Let me know down in the comments. Are you happy? Well, is it warm where you're at, number one? Because it was cold in Alabama the first day we were there. It didn't warmed up, but that's another time for another day. All right. But I also got to travel to Alabama. It was an amazing event, the Lawn Care Life Conference at Matthews Manor. Shout out to Jason Creel and my homie Paul Jameson for putting on a dope event, and Mrs. Tracy Creel, Jason's wife, who kind of made sure everything operated smoothly. The food was absolutely fire, yo. I can't say that I always expect when you go to something that is a catered event that the food is normally bland at most places, but I'm gonna tell you something right now. This food was amazing. I had to get seconds. All right. I ain't bashful. I'm okay with having seconds. All right. I don't care. You want to sit down and act like you ain't hungry? That ain't me. I got up there and got myself some seconds. But it was really dope, man. The food was great. The speakers were dope. I want to highlight Paul Jameson, who talked about getting your money right, which we're going to talk about today. His presentation was absolutely fire. And then also Alan Hain. All of them were good, but Alan Hain was somebody who spoke specifically, I felt like to me, like when you go to church. And he talked all about content creation and using content to actually market your services better, like he does. He has like 565,000 subscribers or something on YouTube. I'm not sure what the other ones are, but he's an OG in the game. And when I tell I really enjoy speakers who just can go and go and go and go. And he was hitting you with information that was digestible. Even though he talked fast, he had dope slides and all of that, but he gave some super practical tips for people that were in content creation and people who are not in content creation but also just want to market their businesses better through maybe Facebook ads and things like that. So sometimes you got to be in the building to get that good information. I made sure that I took a whole lot of pictures of all of the slides that he did. One thing in particular that I will give you is he said that there's a AI service called, it's like Chat GPT, but I guess it's called Grok, Grok, and apparently it's the number one AI tool on the planet right now. So go check that out. I know that I did and downloaded it. So when someone tells you who has so much success doing something that you enjoy doing, you ought to listen to it and write those things down. And that's exactly what I did. So shout out to him and Paul for doing a great job, and all the other people, Brandon Gray, Jason Creel, who's one of the funniest dudes in America. You got to hear Jason Creel speak, man. He is just naturally hilarious. Like, the timing of him is unreal. He had the whole crowd cracking up while he was doing his presentation about not being burned out. But like I said, the event was absolutely fire. I had the opportunity, like I talked about earlier, to talk with Johnny Blades of Grass. Shout out to the OG, man. He's becoming like a mentor for me. And he also shared a lot of great tips for people who are in content creation, because everyone they had a panel up and everyone seemed to want to ask Johnny all the questions. But and he gave out fire advice. Again, you got to be in the room sometimes. And then also shout out to my homie Stripe City, my man Cameron, whose video is killing right now on YouTube, and Be the Barber. They becoming like family members. Crawley goes without saying. I always talk about my homie John Crawley, one man, one mower. But I had the opportunity to ride in a Porsche again, and we went to Jim and Nick's barbecue place. I never even heard of it. Fire. I mean, fire. They got these cornbread muffins that got cheese in them. You don't even taste the cheese. They are just unreal. I had some smoked turkey. The mac and cheese was fire. String beans was fire. I had potato salad, fire. Did I say this place was fire? And then we went to another place called Habanero's Mexican Cuisine. And I just got to tell you something real quick. Let me get this word of the week thing off of here. I told you I'm doing this all myself. I need a producer. Mr. Producer was down there too. You could have heard the voice of lawn care in the green industry down there. But these two places were dope. And when we went to Jim and Nick's, I want to say it was Friday night, and then we went to the Habanero place on Saturday night. Everyone just starts. We're all eating, talking, having a good time, and then everyone just started getting up to leave, and I'm like, my check ain't even get here yet. What the hell is going on? Like I can't. I mean, back in the day, your boy might have got up and just pew, got on up out of there, you know what I'm saying, when I was broke, busted, and disgusted. But my homie Payjack had taken care of the bill. I didn't know because he was sitting at one end of the table, and me and my homie Ken with Stripe City, Ben Nyman, Perry, Yellow Dog Services, Pookie, we was all at the other end of the table, and everyone just starts getting up and leaving, and I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy. They still didn't bring my bill and whatever, but Payjack had incognito taking care of the bill for everyone, and it was and the food was fire, and I didn't even have to pay for it. You kidding me? Talk about winning in life. The next day we go to, after the whole event was over, we go to this place Habanero Mexican cuisine, which was like 5 minutes from the hotel. There was like 20 of us. I mean, me, Payjack, David with Mallard Allen, the Marshalls. I can't remember Eric and his wife. Unfortunately, I don't remember his wife's name. Pookie, Mike Garvey, and Larry with the Side Hustle Squad podcast. Cameron. I don't know. I can't remember. No, they already left. Cam and B the barber had already left, drive back to Nashville. We had Ben Nyman there, Pookie, I think. There was just like 20 people there. And again, I'm at one end of the table, Payjack's right in the middle, but somehow this dude managed to pay the bill with no one noticing. So I don't even know how much Payjack paid for these two meals, but man, thank you, my brother. There's nothing like having a charitable heart. And that is one of the biggest things that Paul, one of his tips was, is to have a charitable heart and don't be worried about getting things in return. Just do, because when you bless people, you too will be blessed, man. And that's why Payjack is so blessed. And we'll give you a wealth of knowledge here in a second. Also, I got to do one shop tour. I was supposed to do three, and I will tell you a story about that here in a second. Oh. Unfortunately, the timelines just didn't work out for me and Jeremiah to get together. I was tired. He had some things to do till about 3, and I fell asleep. And before you knew it, it was dark, and we just didn't get a chance to link up. I couldn't. I wasn't going to leave the conference to go do that because there was just so much great information there. But and then Ben lives 2 hours away. I was supposed to drive to him, but I did get to do one with my homie uh McNair Brandon with McNair's Lawn Pros. So I did get one out of the Alabama trip, which will be coming to you here soon at some point in the next 2 to 3 weeks or so. But the reason that I couldn't go see Ben was because of Avis Car Rental. Now I don't get on here and bash companies, and I'm not bashing a company as a whole, but I will light up an individual location of a company, because Avis probably ain't ever going to hear this unless you share this story with them. But the customer service, the reason I like Avis is because every other place I've ever been, the customer service has been phenomenal, but not in Birmingham, Alabama. Maybe they're just upset that, you know, the Crimson Tide didn't do too well this year. I don't know. But they're terrible. Absolutely terrible. I walk up to the counter, I'm like, yo, obviously got to rent this car. They claim that they only have electric cars. Get out of here with that nonsense. You got more than electric cars. You're trying to meet a quota. And unfortunately, I just didn't want to argue with these people. I ain't even gonna get into the type of, I ain't talking about the people, but they just were terrible, man. Avis Car Rental gave me an electric car, and they said to me, "We don't have too many charging sites here. You got 250 miles. Are you leaving Birmingham?" I said, "Well, if I wanted to leave Birmingham, I guess I can't now because Ben lives 2 hours away." By the time I drove the 12 minutes from the airport to my hotel, when I got the car, it also didn't have 250 miles on it. It had a 224. And by the time I got to the hotel, which was only 12 minutes away, 11 miles, the car was already down to like 154. And I was like, there's no damn way in the world I can make it 2 hours. So I had to cancel the one with Ben. But Avis Car Rental, just like Popeyes, the Avis Car Rental in Birmingham, Alabama. The Popeyes terrible all over the country. Apparently, they're okay in Canada, which I learned from a couple people who were having an after hours thing with us down. There was like 15 of us, or whatever. I guess Popeyes is good in Canada, maybe because they use different ingredients and maybe the people are a little nicer. But down here in America, Popeyes is trash. All right, just pure trash. And just like Birmingham, Alabama's Avis Car Rental place, terrible. All right, last but certainly not least, shout out to Southwest Airlines who got me to and fro very, very easily. Nice soft landings and everything. But there was an old man who, they had the dogs. I never experienced this. On my way to the airport, I'm flying to get to Pittsburgh International Airport. I was riding the business preferred lane, so you get to go straight to the front of the line here in Pittsburgh. They had the bomb dogs out there. I never experienced that at the airport. So, you know, I it took a little longer than it normally does whenever you ride first class, business preferred, or whatever. But they had these dogs out there who were the bomb smelling dogs, I suppose. Well, they sure didn't smell this old man that was on the airplane because he went into the bathroom and definitely let off a bomb. And I'm sitting right at the front of the plane. He comes up, uses the front bathroom, and oh my goodness gracious. I hope that is not in my future whenever I get old. Cuz was in there for about 10, 15 minutes. And when he came out, I always talk about building your plane in the sky. I'm gonna tell you right now, he was trying to take us down. Cause when he opened that door, my goodness gracious, it smelled like something crawled up in him and died. All right. We had the whole doggone plane smelling terrible for about 20 minutes, and I'm sitting right here in the front. I had to keep my mouth closed. I was like this. If you're listening to this and you ain't watching, then go watch the video. But man, I had to cover my mouth. You don't want to breathe that in. That's particles. All right, in case you don't know, that's a scientific fact. There's particles in the damn air when you smell something. Keep your mouth closed if you're around old men who go into the bathroom. But I'll just end the story there on that. But shout out to Southwest Airlines and all of the great people who made it quick. Real quick before we get to Payjack, I do have a question for the audience who's watching. If you follow me on YouTube, uh, and I just want to know what brands would you like me to reach out to if you would like discount codes? Because I've had a couple people DM me and ask me, do I have a Ballard code or a Cujo code? I have no codes, but I am going to start reaching out because too many people are asking me if I have one. And I would like to serve you the best way that I can. Obviously, when you get a code from anything, there will be a kickback involved in that. So maybe I will get a little something from it, but I only want to work with the brands that the people who watch and listen want those discounts from. So if there is a brand or whatever, DM me at Mac underscore landscaping 412 and let me know, or you can comment on the YouTube section of this video and let me know. And also, I wanted to give you a quick update on the Win in Life meetup and let you know that channel members, if you decide to join the channel on YouTube, you will now get early access to videos like the people did for my man Stripe City's video that came out last week. So if you become a channel member, you will get early access to all new videos. And I'll be doing some like private live streams here in the future. So if you want to become a channel member, I encourage you to do so. That would be awesome. But last but certainly not least, before we get to Payjack, let me give you a quick recap for the Win in Life Lawn Care Setup Showcase 2025. If you're hearing this in the future, it might have already happened, but we have close to 80 people registered already from 12 different states. This thing started out as just a Pittsburgh thing, but I guess we're becoming a little bit nationwide as we got 12 people, 12 states coming to attend the meetup. Bring your lawn care setup if you want to. I will be doing individual YouTube videos with anyone who would like to have one, and there will be a YouTube video of the entire thing as it happens. It's free to attend. All you got to do is register with the link down in the description of this video or on my link tree at Mac underscore landscaping 412 or down in the show notes of the podcast if this happens to come out prior to the event happening. There is free food on the event. Pizza, wings, and soft drinks are all on me, but there will be a cash bar available if you would like to have a libation. We will be doing a rock, paper, scissors tournament as we always do, and whoever wins that will get a 21-inch push mower, a string trimmer, and a handheld leaf blower. Again, there will be people from 12 different states. I would love to meet you, shake your hand. It is completely family and dog friendly. Someone brought their dog last year. Shout out to my homie Shelby with Pittsburgh Mulching Solutions. But yes, absolutely free. It's always a fun time, and I encourage you to sign up with those links. As always, we have a guest here tonight, and I feel excited. He's been in the green room for a minute, and I apologize to you, Pajak. But John Pajak, the Yard Book Pro, the budgets, break evens, and bottom line guru, is coming to us today to help us get our money right. And every time this dude does a podcast with me, whether I'm on his or he's on one of mine, I already know it's about to be fair because we got chemistry. We like LeBron and Luca. I guess Luca Doncic is here now. But what is going on with you, Pajak? How you doing, bro?
I'm good. Long time no see, brother. I mean, like, what? It's been 48 hours, maybe at most. No, I'm doing well. I prolonged my visit in Alabama for a while. I actually stopped off in Nashville on my way home. So I just got back today. So it's an adventure. And the Lawn Care Life Conference, yeah, I agree. Everything you're saying, man. It was a great event. If you missed out, guess what? If you were thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna miss out on something, you did. You should have went. You should have signed up and went to it because it was a great event. And a lot like Mac had said earlier, Paul did a great job. Everybody did a great job. And I want to give a shout out to Brandon Gray, who works with Greg Crabtree. Those guys, they speak my language. We're all like, if that was a little bit too much for you, it's like that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. So it kind of hits all the buttons. Doesn't matter if you're just starting out, you've been in business for a while, or you're trying to help others fix their businesses. You could find information from that. So
Yeah, I agree. Brandon Gray, if you had the VIP experience, you were able to attend a 4 hour session where for someone to talk for 4 hours is
mhm.
unreal. I mean, you got to actually know your stuff if you're going to talk to a bunch of business owners for 4 hours. Now, I was one of the people who a lot of that stuff was going over my head because I'm basically new to the business side of things and just learning as I go, build my plane in the sky. But man, he from everything from like how to value your business, how to get your numbers, like what a EBITDA is, which my man Mud Wells told me before, but to have it like explained in depth on how you value everything goes all into that. It was like you said, Payjack, probably like amazing for you. I was like, wow, this is like a college course that I just
Yeah,
can't. A lot of the stuff I personally just couldn't understand, but man, he was amazing. He
yeah.
he was he was fire.
It was just really nice and confirming. Like a lot of like we speak the same language. So, like when I do budgets, break evens, and bottom lines workshops with business owners, and that's made to help them profitably price their services. The first meeting we do, it's 4 hours long. So I mean, I get the 4 hour long talking to people. It's just not in person. It's usually via Zoom or streaming thing. But speaking of which, that's I want to crack into that because you said, hey, let's talk about that. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I'm not exactly sure which portion you want to talk about, but I want to, especially this time of year. It's not that it's too late in the year. You're like, dude, it's still February. Most of us haven't even started our season yet, but it's like if you're waiting till the last minute to have a budget for your business, it's like spring's right around the corner. Yeah, maybe we had a cold snap where you think you have more time, but it's really here. We're in the final stages, and if you haven't visited your numbers yet, there's still time, but you got to move on things quick because I'm pretty sure, even like for me, I'm still closing clients right now. Like I over the winter, I start early to try to get new clients, and if I don't know what my pricing points are for my break evens for my chemicals and things like that, that dictate if I know what my costs are going to be and I know what my break even is, then I know where I could play with the pricing, because it's not that one. Generally, our model is kind of like not exactly a one size fits all thing, but I have targets that I'm trying to hit when it comes to profit margins. And if I don't know what my break even numbers are, just to open the doors and go just function, live, exist as a business, if I don't know what that is, it puts me at a disadvantage, because then, it's like, well, wait a second. If I offered somebody maybe a slight discount, or maybe added another service at maybe for free or for something like that, just to get my foot in the door. I'm not a big fan of like just discounting my prices. I like
Mm.
to add value and add services instead of dropping price, because when you start doing that, it's a slippery slope. But anyway, without going in the weeds on that, if I know exactly what a service actually costs me, and then what room I have to stay within my goals of what profit margin I'm trying to hit, um, I could go into any estimate or any proposal, and I have confidence. And if I find that maybe price is going to be an issue, or I really want the account for some reason, then I know where I could play. I know where the playing field is. I've dealt with a lot of businesses that they're just basically throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks.
Mm.
And then they don't understand. It's like, man, I'm making money, but I don't see any of it. And I want to keep people from failing, or even at worst, like they're doing all this work and they're not making money. Maybe I've run into quite a few people that they don't even break even. They're losing money. And
Yeah.
when they're doing that, they don't realize that they're going out of business very slowly. Sometimes it can
Yeah.
happen really fast.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, because I know for a lot of people who may not do snow, if they're up here in the north, or maybe they're down in the south, things are right about to start picking up, and I always say the money's about to start turning on for people who offer reoccurring services and things like that. So I wanted to have you on so that we could give some people some practical tips of things that they should be saving for, maybe some bank accounts that they should have. We talked about multiple bank accounts at LCR Summit, and just some things that people need to be aware of if they're new in business, like or they've been in business for a long time but just maybe overlooked a lot of these things. I wanted it before, those that money faucet really opens up for a lot of us reoccurring services people are out here. I wanted to make sure that we give them some practical tips and some things that could help them. So I appreciate you coming on today. And if you have any questions, whether you're on Instagram or YouTube, please comment them. I will do my best to get to all of them before we get John up out of here, because he drove 10 hours. All right. And
One
then,
way.
yeah, one way. So he drove 10 hours down. I was like, what is going? He got a lot of podcasting equipment and things like that he brought with him. So uh, I want to be respectful of your time, John. So again, if you have any questions, money questions, budget questions, things like that, things that you should be looking out for if you're brand new to the
Mhm.
business side of things, please do me a favor and put them down in the comment section, and we will do our best to get to them. But before we get started, Pajak, can you give us some of your bona fides, some of the things that you do, and also I seen that you have like a coaching thing that you're doing now for people. You did it right there in the lobby. I got to witness it in person. I didn't even know what the hell was going on. They just had a group of people just sitting around Pajak, and he's going through all of these different things with them. So I want to make sure that we plug that because you can never have too much information from someone who is an actual genius at something. And Pajak, I can 1000% vouch for, is a money guru, man. He's the guru. So put the questions down there if you have them. But give
I
us some bona
appreciate
fides, Pajak.
I appreciate you, brother. Well, just as a quick background, I have a lawn care company. We do spraying. We do weed control, fertilization. I've had that business since 2015, and a lot of these systems and a lot of the things that I teach and go over with people, that actually ended up stamping a name on it, which is budgets, break evens, and bottom lines. I originally made it for me to make sure that my business was successful. And then as I was part of the community and as we were going along, I was part of like some Facebook groups and things like that. I would do things for free for people. And then it got overwhelming. Eventually, I became a certified financial coach, still have the lawn care business, but then I started helping others. And mainly business development, and then really knowing your numbers. I used to, create budgets for civilians, like homeowners, or like just a family. I don't know what to call them at this point anymore. But I found that my niche was really helping business owners in the green industry. So again, that's how budgets, break evens, and bottom lines came about around like 2017. That was like a really impactful year, and over time I've been just improving on it a little by little. So I've had people that did this like prior to 2020, and it's almost completely different. Like if they would see what happens now, it's like it's morphed into something amazing now. And I always you know keep tweaking it. And that basically that turns into a workshop. um, I also teach yard book training courses. I help people with that CRM. Also, you kind of hinted at the coaching group that I'm currently doing, and that's not like something you could just sign up for. Um, right now, you got to be on a waiting list to get into it, because it's not necessary. I don't want it to necessarily be like we have 150 people. I took a small group of folks that are dedicated to growing their business. And right now we're going, it's supposed to be a monthly group, but I'll tell you what, we've been meeting basically every week for the past, 10 weeks. And, we still have a little bit of runway to go, but the purpose of that was to help get these businesses get more blood into their business. You get more customers, because each and every one of them, they go through, I give them budgets, break even, the bottom lines. And then we go through a lot of marketing, because it's like, once you figure out what your numbers are, you're like, okay, great. I know what to charge and everything. Now, what do I do with this? And I'm like, yeah, there's a little bit of a gap here. So that's why I started doing the coaching, the group coaching, which you kind of witnessed. And the reason we did it there was because everybody was traveling and we missed our normal night, but everybody was coming to the Lawn Care Life conference that was in that group. So we decided to just do it in the hotel lobby. uh, I thought it was going to be more private, but hey, you know what? That's okay. It worked out. We got everything done. Uh, the meeting room that I wanted to go into was locked up. So, but anyway, my purpose is to help people build a profitable business. Because if you're busy, you could be busy. You could be really, really busy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're being productive. And you need to understand that being busy is one thing, being productive is another, and then ultimately being profitable is what we need to do as business owners. That's the goal. It's not just to create a job for ourselves. It's, especially, I know there's a lot of guys out there that are solo and they like being solo, but you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I just want them to make sure that they're spending their time and they're really making the money.
Yeah.
And for those that want to expand their business and grow their business to where they're not just taking care of themselves and their family, but then they start hiring other people, and then they're actually taking care of possibly those people's family. There's a lot of, heavy as the crown, you know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
lot of weight to that. And I want to make sure that if they're going to take the gamble, if they're going to invest the time and their resources into building a business, I want them to be successful. And part of success is based off that profitability.
Yeah, no doubt, man. We already got questions that are in here. So the first one we got is from Grants and Sons Lawn Care. Shout out to
We get,
John and Caden, who we got to
I was going
spend
to
a
say,
lot of
which one
time
is it,
with.
John or Caden, or both?
Yeah, I don't know. Let us know which one you are, Grants and Sons. But he says, how much money should you have saved up before hiring an employee, or is that even necessary if you have enough work to afford it?
So, what I would do, this is me, I'm a bit conservative about things. I try to finance myself. Okay. So, I would try to at least have at least a single pay period or at least two pay periods, just to guarantee that I'm never going to be late paying that guy. Because there's no worse feeling than to hire somebody and then you're at the mercy of your clientele paying you.
Mm,
There's fixes for that. Instead of waiting on a monthly, a lot of people in our industry still bill out monthly for weekly maintenance. And I understand that a lot of we got to readjust the way our clients think. Um, I'm just going to talk about this one point, and then I'm going to come back to the question here. We bill out daily, and people go, "That's crazy. That's not going to work for me. That you can't do that." It's like, well, maybe you can't because you think you can't. You got that mindset of, "I can't," and then you're gonna sabotage yourself that way. In 2016 or 2017, I can't remember when it was. When I started my company, we did prepay only. It was working, but the problem was, like if we had to skip a lawn because it was too dry or too wet or whatever it was, and I was doing mowing at the time too. We would have to, like, the next month would be dirty because it's like, well, I have to credit this person 2 mows, or I have to, it just got to the point where it was causing me grief. And I said, you know what, there's a better way. And around the exact same time, we were able to start doing card on file. And so when we started doing that, we had card on file, but we were still doing like a weekly payment plan. So it was like at the end of the week, I charged cards. That was working great. Our existing clients that didn't want to switch over, well, we just let them do the prepay, and it wasn't that bad. But anyway, long story short, all our new clients, they knew when they signed up that after each service, we were going to charge them.
mm,
And I had so much pushback on that from other lawn care operators. They kept telling me, you can't do that. It's not going to work. You can't do that. And I said, you know what? Watch me. And I'm telling
yeah,
Mac, I since I think it's been since 2019, we have like at the end of the year, we have 100% of our accounts receivables in. Like
yes,
we don't get scammed, like it's like, oh, the check's in the mail or this and that and the other. It's like, no, we're paid up. And if somebody like screws up and doesn't, if their card gets canceled or whatever, we still get that money. we'll just, most people don't do it maliciously, but like if they were to just pay once a month, then, you're chasing money and that costs you money too. Right.
Yep.
Um, and that's how, like, accounts receivable, you might end up having like thousands of dollars in an accounts receivable that you haven't received. And you're like, I already paid for everything. But anyway, I'm going to go back, back to the
Real
question.
real quick before you do,
Hmm.
what do I always say? If you're watching, you should know. We do weekly prepay at the beginning of the week for every recurring service that we have to make sure that we get paid. In 2025, I talked about this all the time, Payjack. If you want to thrive and you're doing recurring services, get paid first. Maybe you don't
Hmm.
bill a whole month ahead of time because that does get convoluted. And if you miss a couple things, you got to go through and readjust everything. But weekly prepay is pretty simple. I just do it at the beginning of the week, Monday, and then if we don't, for whatever reason, get it done, then I just send them back a refund. Because I do it weekly prepay, we do not overcharge them for the next week if for whatever reason we're not able to charge them. So it's actually a benefit for the customer. All right. It's less stress on my plate. Heavy is the whatever that
Yeah.
thing is you said, right? But it's less stress on the king. You are the king or queen of your business. So if you get paid first, you will actually feel like that because you know who eats first in the kingdom? The king and the queen. All right.
Exactly.
So get paid first. Now, what was that question? He asked
No, and I
about.
agree, man. We as a whole in this area, or this industry, I really feel like you have to set something up to where you guarantee you're going to get paid, because there's no reason for us to not get paid. Like when I go fuel up, I can't just go to the gas station, pump my gas, and then just say, "Yo, I'll be back later to pay you." The
Right.
cops get called immediately. You know, uh, I can't go into my vendor. I mean, actually, I could go into my vendor and say I'll pay for this later, but he'll be like, "Well, did you sign the terms?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm not going to do that." But it's a transactional thing. It really is. So just think of it that way. Get your head out of like, "Oh, well, I'm the like the cable. If you pay for cable or you pay for your utilities, it's a monthly thing because they take. You're talking like such small microtransactions that it's like, well, it's going to be $130 one month, it's going to be 150 the next because it's based off of usage, right?
Right.
That's different than what we do. It's like if it's going to be $60 for a cut, it's generally not going to change, week to week. So just get paid.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, to go back to Grant and Son's question,
It was
uh,
Caden, by the way.
it was
He's
Caden.
16.
Caden,
Yeah, he's asking
good to
that
see
question.
you. It was great seeing you over the weekend. Um, but to go back to it, I would suggest, you know, it doesn't, it's not like you have to save up for it, but it makes me feel a lot better to have like 2 weeks worth of payroll set to the side, because, it's not an accident that I need to hire somebody. One thing is I look at our capacity, meaning how much room on our schedule we have. I know on average how many accounts our technicians could take care of. And we have very dense routes. So it's like, obviously we want to make sure that they fall within the routes and everything, but I could kind of forecast based off of what our capacity is and look at it and say, okay, you know what? We're getting to the point where we're about to kind of max these guys out.
Mm,
I'm going to need to hire. Are we in a position to where we could hire? I generally save up money throughout the season, and it's like it doesn't have to be. It could be coming from profits, or it could be actually I put I have a buffer inside our payroll account. It's a separate bank account. It's in the same bank, but I'll make sure that there's a more of a buffer in there to cover a new hire. And then, that just puts me at ease knowing that, okay, when I hire somebody, I don't have to worry about if there's enough money for them. Because generally when we add a new person, a new technician in our business, we're at that weird point where it's like we have enough work to keep everybody like they're getting to the point where they're getting sweaty. to where they're like, man, I don't know if I'm going to get this done. But when we add that next person, we don't know. It's not like everybody's going to be slammed again. We could
Yeah.
kind of move the slide the jobs around so it's kind of equal distribution. But just as a like kind of like a rule of thumb with me, it's like if I could get like a 2-week buffer on my payroll for that one person, then I'm good.
Yeah.
Hire away. And if they're not working out, fire them right away. Find
Yeah.
somebody else to walk into that position. Trust me, it's I know it sounds terrible, but there have been some people that I was too slow to fire or let go, and it bit me. And it cost me way more money. I wasted money. They were like a poison pill. They started gibbering other people's ears, and it turned somebody who was a really great employee and that poison just got into their ear, and they started thinking about things, and they're like, yeah, man, why aren't we working 5 days a week? We're only working 4 days a week. We're working 4 10s.
Yeah.
Somehow this guy convinced the other guy that working 5 8s was better, and I said no. We're more productive with 4 10s. And
Yeah.
don't you like having Friday off and Saturday off and Sunday off? Well, you're still getting paid. You're still getting paid really well, but now you have that extra day to. Anyway, that was my problem. But um, to land the plane on that question, I would just say like have a little bit of a buffer, but then just make sure that when you do need to hire, you just do it and make sure that they are productive and they're bringing more money in than what they cost you.
No
Things will
doubt.
balance out after a while.
One of the things that I've heard before is be slow to hire and quick to fire.
Yeah.
Um, because, like Pajak said, those bad apples come in here and they poison the bunch quick. And you're the sum of the 5 people that you hang around the most. And if you have a cool team and you bring in a bad apple, that can quickly become a bad thing, because also whoever has the highest energy in the room is scientifically proven that everyone will go to their energy. So if that energy is high and it's negative, you're going to negatively affect all of the people who are around that person. But if you can get a high energy person who's positive, then he can bring a lot of negative people up to, or he or she can bring a lot of negative people up to their level. And one of the cool things that I did not go over my head was something Brandon Gray said, which was have 2 months of expenses saved.
Oh yeah,
You should have
absolutely.
2 months
Like,
of all of your expenses. Go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, I'm kind of overkill on that. I have not only a fund to make for emergencies, we have a fund set to the side that's just an emergency fund that will cover like any and all of our insurance premiums, like our deductibles, multiple
Hmm.
times. And then we also have built in there. I have like it's always a minimum for me. It gets sweaty if it gets below 3 months worth of expenses. So the business could technically, like during the winter, and here's the thing: it's like I have another fund that's just for winter. So like when we have zero income coming in, the business it's covered. That winter fund covers it throughout the entire winter. So all the expenses that we have just to keep the doors open, even though they're closed, the, by the whole purpose of that account is when we kind of wrap up in November, like it basically pays for December, January, February, and March. So I basically have 4 months of business expenses saved up on top of our emergency fund, which covers all of our deductibles. So if this happened to me, we got into one guy got into an accident, and then like about a week later, one of the machines went through a garage door. anyway, long story short, deductibles were, for the truck accident, the deductible was due. The deductible and to the cost to cover the garage door incident were so similar. I just paid out of pocket because I didn't want my insurance rate going up after that. So was able to handle it. Yes, it was a little bit stressful, but at the same time, the funds were there, and it was like it didn't disrupt us at all. We didn't stop. We didn't. Um, it wasn't like I was sitting up at night going, "How am I going to come up with an additional $1,200 right now, or another $1,000 within a week and a half of each other?" It's like, man, that's $2,200 out of nowhere that could put a ding in some people's business. And for us, it was just like, yeah, that sucks, but that's what this money's for.
We got some more questions coming in here, but before we get to those, Pajak, let's help some people here and give them some ideas, because one of the things that you said at LCR Summit at Equip Expo, which will be this year, the 2025 LCR Summit, there's already tickets available. You should sign up for that. I'll be emceeing it again, and I know my homie Pajak will be there. But you talked about bank accounts.
Oh
So
yeah.
tell us some bank accounts that people should open up uh to keep their money in the right direction. You know what I
hmm
mean?
So I was a Dave Ramsey certified financial coach. So if you guys know the envelope system, that if you're familiar with that, another great resource on how this all works is Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. I always say, it's more like the envelope system 2.0, because it follows a very similar concept when it comes to organizing your money. There is a different philosophy, but with Mike Michalowicz's Profit First, he says take your profit first, and then everything else has to survive in its own little bucket or platter, I think is what he uh, puts them on. But anyway, um, instead of stuffing money in envelopes and then writing down like, okay, this is for our rent, or this is for operating expenses, or whatever category you're saving for, or putting money aside for, you use different bank accounts. And there's a lot of times where I've talked with business owners, and they're like, "Oh, I'm fine, man. I got like 20K in the bank." It's like they only have like one bank account, and they're just like, "Yeah, we're good. We got 20K in the bank." And then the next thing they know, they're like, "Dude, I don't know where it went. I'm actually I need like $5,000. I'm like $5,000 in the hole right now. How did that happen? I had 20K. I thought it was okay. I was going to go buy, take my family out for a nice dinner." And an issue that comes up a lot. So just as an example, the you could like with my lawn care business, I have like a dozen uh, checking accounts. Okay. Some of them have debit cards that's signed to them, others don't. They're just there as placeholders. Okay. But what it does is you have like one main account. It's your income one. That's where all the money from your business comes in. So when people pay you check, cash, credit cards, whatever, you have it go into your income account. And then from there, I think that the top like five that I would have, you would have your operating expenses, you would have your federal taxes, you'd have your sales tax, operating expense, or I already said operating expenses, your profit, and then more than likely like your payroll. Okay. Even if you are solo, I want people to understand you have to pay yourself. It's one of the biggest no-nos as a business owner, is to just saying, well, I'll just take when I need it. You as an owner, especially if you're an LLC, yeah, of course you could take owner's distributions, right? But you need to make sure you're paying yourself. I don't care if it's just $15 an hour, pay yourself as a technician, but just consistently pay yourself. Okay. So when you start, my whole goal every week is to get all that income in one account. And by the end of like when I usually do it like on Fridays, whatever's in there at that time, with our cash flow, it's constantly being refilled during the season. So there's never like well, just wait until, all this stuff clears. It never stops filling up. So generally what I do is like on Fridays, whatever's in the income account, my goal is to zero that out. And then I distribute it into like those those categories I was telling you. Operating expenses. The first one that actually gets filled is sales tax for me, because that's not my money. I collected that money on behalf of the state. I don't want to. My clients don't want to. But hey, we want to stay on the other side of the bars, because I'll tell you what. Do you know what took down Al Capone? It wasn't
Tax
that
evasion.
it was tax evasion. He was the most notorious gangster in Chicago, right? He didn't get hit for any of that stuff. They got him with tax evasion. So I don't like it, but hey, I don't want to. I want to stay on this side of the. I want to stay on this side of the fence here. So I put in for my sales tax right away. Then I get a clear view of okay, this is what is available, and I go, well, payroll's really important, so I pay the payroll. Hey, how many hours was worked? Boom. Put that in there. Operating expenses. We need to keep the doors open to the place. Boom. There's okay. How much is left for the end of the month? What we have to pay? Maybe it's our rents or whatever. But you're going to go ahead and filter that money into there. Then we're going to say okay, well, maybe we're going to put a little bit over here for profit, and then your federal taxes, right? It's well, what did we put in our profit account? Because that's what we're going to get taxed on. Because all that other stuff for operating expenses and payroll and everything, those are deductible things. We say, look, we paid this out. This is what it took for us to operate our business. And as long as you're not buying jet skis and then trying to write it off on the lawn care company, those are legitimate things that you can write off on your taxes as business expenses. And then your profits that you have, it's say, hey, we have $1,000 worth of profit, right? Well, if for small businesses, a lot of times we're anywhere between 21% and 35%. I might go, you know what? I'm going to take 30% of that. So I'm going to take $300 for that from that 1,000 that was in profit, and I'm going to slide that over to federal taxes. That way there's no surprise at the end of the quarter, or for some of you, if you're just doing it annually, on your personal taxes, you're writing off on your Schedule C, your business, right? There's no surprises. It's not hey, you owe $5,000. Well, crap, I don't have 5K. If you do this on a regular basis, it's just easy. It's just boom, you put that in there, and you will always, keep your cash flow healthy.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question about that, to go back to, this is why that cash flow thing is so important, where we would bill out daily versus at the end of the month. Because think about when you pay everybody, even if you look at your personal budget, your personal expenses, you may have your rent due or your mortgage due at the beginning of the month, and then your car insurance hits the third week, or any of the other expenses that you have, they're spaced out through the month. They're never, it's not on one day,
Right.
even you can't really, it's very difficult to set up all of your payments for at one time. It's possible, but chances are it's not going to happen. So when you have that cash flow coming in, when you bill daily or weekly, that you're always going to have money coming in, so it's not as hard to pay off those things. Because I know people like my brother, he works for a correctional facility. They get paid once a month. So if he doesn't budget his money right, he's, it could really throw him under the bus, because he's all right, I got all this stuff I want to buy or whatever. And it's well, I only get paid once a month.
Yeah.
He has to make sure that, he has money in his account, so that when his mortgage does come in, he can pay it on time. You know what I mean? And it gets trickier when you start stretching, when your cash flow turns into a little trickle, it makes that more difficult. So anyway, to beat on that horse isn't even dead, and we're still whipping on it. It's like a mule. We're just whooping on that mule. But anyway, just to reinforce that you need to have cash flow. It's the lifeblood of your business. But
Yes.
again, budgeting, too.
So that top five again is an income account, a sales tax account, a federal tax account, your payroll, and your operating expenses. Those are the top five according to
Well,
Payjack. And
don't
go
forget your
ahead.
profit. So
Oh
there's
yeah.
probably six
So the
there.
six. All right. So the top. I had to get the top
Yeah, get
six.
your
Now
fingers right.
I gotta put my hand up again to make this thing not move. Otherwise, it'll be following me around. And I
Or
top up
six.
my hands and I move. There you go. See, Payjack, you helped me out there. But like Payjack said, man, I personally, again, to beat this dead horse, is I get paid. I charge all of my cards on file at the beginning of the week. If you have a lot of residential customers, you'll get that money depending on what CRM you have in 1 to 2 days. So by
Hmm.
Wednesday for the CRM that I use, the money is there, and now I know what I have. And unlike Payjack's brother, who's getting paid once a month, if you're doing that, you do not want to be in a situation where there's still a lot of month left, and you're at the end of your money. That's straight from Dave Ramsey. I
Yeah.
used to love
It,
when he said that. You got too much month left and not enough money.
exactly, man. I mean, it's happened to me before in the past where, before the very first business I was running, that was really tough. I was billing out monthly, and some people wouldn't even pay it. I had people that were like 45 days overdue. We're still like, "Oh, I got to keep cutting them, otherwise I'll never get my money." And then it was rough. I mean, I remember I had probably like 12 or 12 or 15 clients at the end of that year that never paid me. And I stopped service after 2 months. So
Yeah.
that was, you know, roughly maybe 8 services, maybe possibly 9 services that I did the work for, never got paid for it, times the 12 or 15 clients. That adds up real fast. That's thousands of dollars that
Hmm.
I did work for, fronted the money myself, and never got reimbursed for it. And that
Yeah.
that was the that was part of the reason why my business failed. Is cash flow killed me. There was none, and the money that was coming in wasn't coming in fast enough because, again, I was trying to juggle when I could pay things, and then it's like, oh, this is late. Bam, late fees. Damn, $35 late fee on top of what I already owe, and then the juice would start running. Like I remember, some folks say like, oh, I don't do debt, but other people are like, it's okay, I can do debt, I can do credit cards, I can hack it. Okay, well, if your cash flow isn't a flow and it's a trickle, and let's just say your credit card bill's due, and you're like, well, I got like a really low interest rate, it's only like 9%. But if you read the fine print, you're late on it once, your interest rate goes from that 9% up to 26% immediately, and it doesn't come back. You missed out. You're penalized now. So for the rest of the life of that card, you're stuck at 26.99%. If you read the fine print on all those things. They usually come with like a booklet. This is why I hate debt. It's why I hate debt. I don't do it. But if you're one of those people that say, well, I can manage it, I can hack it, I'm really good, um, just remember you're playing with fire. And if you're late because you didn't budget your money right, or you could be great at budgeting like I am, but still, if there's a bottleneck in your payment system, and you're saying, yeah, we have 30-day terms or whatever, they might not pay you, and then you're short. And then guess what? You're not going to rush to pay the credit card if you're hungry. You're going to go
Right.
get that food first for your family, right?
Yep.
The credit card, well, I can make that wait. Well, guess what? Now it's like, boom, that interest rate shot up. Now all your minimum payments are higher. You're going to be in debt longer. It's a whole vicious cycle. So, um, yeah,
Uh, no, let's get to some more questions here.
yes,
We
please.
got Braden's lawn care on here. He says, "Do you think a set amount per month for the owner pay or a percent of the monthly profit as pay? Never considered this until this weekend."
Yeah, I would definitely have you set your salary up. Okay, so remember, profits. A business is profitable only when you are paying yourself something.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that, if you're not paying yourself and you're living off the profits alone, your business is not, you go, oh, I'm at 20% margins. Are you paying yourself? Well, if you're not, you're that margin is actually skewed because you're not. If somebody else were to come and buy your business from you or inquired about it, they'd be like, oh, you got 20% margins. That's what you said here. Okay, great. What's the owner's pay looking like? You're like, well, I just pay myself out of profit. Immediately, they don't even have to know how much your top line is or your bottom line. They immediately know that that number is wrong. That 20% that you state is your profit margin is absolutely wrong. It doesn't matter if it's only like 1% of that. It's like, okay, you are missing a fundamental process here that the owner has to get paid at least like what a technician makes.
Yes.
You have to pay yourself a reasonable wage. So start with that first. Like, for the longest time, I mean, I was paying people more than I was at one point in time just to grow a little bit, but I was, paying myself like $18 an hour, which is very low for what I do.
Right.
But over time, once we got more lifeblood, we got more sales into our business, we had more clients, and we were maintaining that income. Then it was like, okay, now I could bump my salary up and pay myself, I pay myself like $1,000 a week, and that was more reasonable and more. That's more in line with what you should be paying for it. And if you could keep, once you do that, and then you start saying, okay, we're operating at a 20% margin, then that number's more real now,
Right.
because you're like, okay, well, no matter what, I get paid my salary, my, whatever it is, plus I have access to the dividends. I have access to the profits. And the beautiful thing about the profits, you could spend them however you wish. You can reinvest some of it back into the business. You could give yourself a percentage of the profits. You could give it back to your, you give bonuses to your guys. Um, it's almost endless what you could do with profits. But just remember, when your profits though are, that's what they tax you on. So
Right.
just make sure when you figure out the profits that you're taking, make sure you're setting aside from that portion, whatever that number is, plan appropriately and stuff a little bit of that money off to the side for taxes. Because Uncle Sam wants his dues. Caesar wants what's his.
No doubt. All right, we got another question from Law 79. He says, I'm new to treating lawns. I know the hourly rate for my maintenance, but how do you convert that to charge by square footage?
Okay, so here's what I do: is I don't. If you know what your mowing is, it's a whole totally different. Okay, even though most of us don't think this way, I always break each one of our services into what I call a division. So let's just say, we offer mowing, we have fert and squirt, aerations, and mosquito spraying. Okay. Even though they're all under our business, they're all under the umbrella of our business. The way that I break it down, I have 4 divisions: mowing, mosquito, fert and squirt, aerations. What we do is I try to keep that separate, stay in their lanes because they use different equipment. Not only that, some of them are more profitable than the others. So like when it comes to spraying versus mowing, we're using different equipment. Those have different rates. Okay. Your labor might be very similar, but uh, your overhead might be very similar because, if we're talking about contributing, every crew that goes out there, they got to contribute to the mortgage or the rent of your shop. They're contributing to the utilities. That's a shared expense across all divisions. Your marketing as well. You might want to, you have to have a marketing budget. I don't care what anybody says.
Mhm.
This is why a lot of companies get stagnant or they just start slipping and they don't get traction, is because they're afraid to spend money on marketing. But to stay on track here, if you look at the difference between Furt and Squirt and mowing, right? Yes, okay, maybe they share a truck, maybe it's a trailer, okay, but all the other equipment, maybe they, and maybe a blower, they'll share. But the mowing division is going to use, uh, the truck, trailer, blowers, trimmers, mowers, right? Let's just generalize it. Those all have different price points, and that is a unit. That is I call them loadouts. So you assign your loadout. Each piece of equipment has a price tag on it that you charge per hour, and then when you tally it all up, it's this much, right? And then from there mark things up so that you're hitting a desired profit margin, and you find out like what your area will support, your market will support it. So you have a price tag on that. When it comes to Furt and Squirt, you're going to possibly have that same, maybe it's the same truck, maybe it's a different truck, but the truck, the trailer, maybe you have a ride-on sprayer or you have a skid sprayer or both. They're all riding around in there, and you have a blower to clean up granular. Plus so like when you take that base of just the equipment, it's going to be a different price than that other stuff for mowing.
Mhm.
And of course, because we have materials and supplies, we have our fertilizers, we have our herbicides and all that other stuff. What generally how it works out is I have like our pricing schedule, we basically have a stop fee, and it's based off production rates. We know most of our lawns fall between 8,000 and 12,000 square feet. So it's like we know it's like, hey, we could spend for like these lawns, we'll probably spend anywhere between 15 and 18 minutes on these lawns to do them right. We'll have a stop fee, which will include the time for that. So like your hourly rate, if it's, let's say 15 minutes, right? Or let's just do 20 minutes, okay? If it's going to take you up to 20 minutes to do a property, okay? Uh, let's just do the math. Say it's $150 an hour that we need to recover and be profitable. Well, if we could do 3 lawns in an hour, it's like, okay, our stop fee is $50 because $150 per hour. It's a 20-minute stop. The 60 divided by 20 is 3. Okay, so you could do 3 lawns in that time period, just in this example. So that 150 divided by the 3 would equal 50. So that's our stop fee. All our materials and everything, I average it out over the entire season, except for our grub control. Our grub, I don't want to get too in the weeds on it, but I want to just say, like, I'll take like one of our highest ones, except for the grub control, and we average it out and say, okay, on average, it costs us, $3 for all the materials, our cost. And I'll mark that. I want to get a 50% margin on our materials, so I mark it up 100%. So per 1,000 square foot, it costs us $3. We're charging $6 per 1,000 square foot. So if you have a 10,000 square foot lawn, here's how the math works. If we're charging $6 per 1,000, 6 times 10 is 60, because of that 10,000 square feet. And then our stop fee, we add that on, which is $50. That would be 110. Okay.
Yep.
So your stop fee covers your labor, your equipment, your overhead, and your marketing, all involved and compiled into one.
Mm-hmm.
We're also covering and making money on our material as well. And that's like the direct money way, like the scientific way of doing it. It's not the artful way of adding the value in too, because you go, well, 110, man, that's kind of low. Maybe you're already charging like 150. Well, that's where, if you know what your break even is, and like, hey, you know what, even with this markup we're trying to make, it's low, then maybe our competitors, they're just charging what other companies are charging. You could go, well, hey, here's the artful thing. We provide great value for what we do. And you can raise that price up, and then you're making even more profit than what you originally intended. So,
No doubt. I hope that
uh,
answers your question.
yeah, pop up the question real quick again. I want to make sure I answered that
I
fully.
think you got it. How to convert the square footage.
Yeah, just very quickly though, I would definitely not use your mowing rate for your applications because it's truly apples and oranges. It's like it literally is like, fruit salad versus a pear. It's not it's nowhere near the same. Okay, um, there's more components to the application route. So I hope that helps you, bud.
And you can DM him at John Pajak on Instagram, and maybe he can help you out a little further on that. But the next question we got is from William Smith. He says, "What's y'all's thoughts on QuickBooks?" I personally use QuickBooks. My CPA loves it, and so I got what she wanted me to get, and it's been amazing for me. What's your thoughts, Pajak?
I don't use QuickBooks. I do all our bookkeeping, and I have an amazing CPA, and he's totally cool with that. I just give him reports. The stuff that I record in Yardbook, I just grab the ones he wants and I give it to him. He does a little bit of data entry. He's totally fine with that. Um, if your CPA prefers to use QuickBooks, I would make it easier for them. There's other companies out there. There's like Zero. Zero's another really good accounting software. I'm not trying to pitch them in any way. QuickBooks is like the standard in a sense, but there's several other accounting softwares out there. So depending on what your CPA is likes, I would probably base it off of that. Just like Mac, you said your accountant likes QuickBooks. I would just do that and make it easy for them, because the easier you could make it for your accountant, your CPA, even your bookkeepers, then it'll just make it easier for them to give you the right numbers, especially when it comes to taxes.
No doubt. So next question is from William Smith. He says, "How do you pay yourself as a solo LLC? File yourself as a W-2, 10 or 1099. What is better? The better option." I personally use a payroll company, and I put myself on payroll, so I do get a W-2 at the end of the year. Payjack, what do you suggest?
So it depends on how your business is set up. If you're a sole proprietor or a single member LLC, you don't necessarily have to. You're not going to issue yourself a W-2 at that point. Now, when you go to a C corp, if you're an LLC and you file as a C corp, there's advantages to it because you issue yourself a W-2. Again, I'm not a CPA, so this is just uh, check with your tax accountant, your tax
Right.
person, your accountant for the real deal. But I'll just tell you, if you're once you if you start if you file as a C corp, you're going to pay taxes as a W-2 employee, and then the business is also going to pay taxes too. And you go, why would I pay taxes twice? There's In a nutshell, it depends on what level you're at, how much money you're generating. There's advantages to doing that. Okay. But if you're a solo guy, a single member LLC, you're a solo LLC. Okay. So, I mean, you don't necessarily have to do that. You could still, an LLC is a pass through corporation. It's just a pass through entity. So even though you have your LLC, depending on how you are structured, a lot of times LLCs, especially solo ones, they will file their taxes once a year on their Schedule C, which is attached to it. Your accountant will take care of all the stuff. He'll pay your self-employment taxes and everything, or calculate all your self-employment taxes, and then depending on what you made and how many deductions you had, you might get a return. More than likely you won't. More than likely you will be paying taxes. But to answer your question, how do you pay yourself? This is even if you have just that payroll account, pay yourself regularly. You're not going to, what I was doing before we had payroll. We use Gusto for payroll now. My accountant still was doing our payroll, but I just wanted to try Gusto out, see how that's working. That's working pretty well. But you would just literally take what's called an owner's distribution. So I had myself set up on a weekly basis where I would have money from that payroll account wired to my personal account, totally different bank account numbers and everything, not even in the same bank. But instead of taking out money from there and then depositing it at this other bank, I would just have wire transfers to leave a paper trail showing it left my lawn care company and it went into my personal checking account, and it would be noted as, payment, as like payroll. Okay. This also works for your if you're taking out profit, because owners distributions, they're really not, they don't care. It's, you have to classify in your end like what it is, whether it's actual like payroll or if it's profit. But just be prepared to make sure you track all of the profit that you have, separate that from what you're paying yourself, because again, Uncle Sam's going to dip into your honey pot of profit, and he's going to be like Winnie the Pooh, eating honey, shirt, just wearing a shirt and no pants. He loves it. He's get it to me. Yeah, he's a weirdo. Uncle Sam's a weirdo. Just imagine him in that hat and his, jacket, but below the waist, he's totally Winnie the Pooh in it. He's like, yeah, honey, I'm a weirdo. Mm.
Hey, all right, we got this isn't a question. Okay, here we go. How do you price properties? This is from Kendra James. How do you price properties without losing customers but also keep making a profit?
Well, I mean, simply you got to make sure you understand what your numbers are. And I mean, when I know my break evens, I know confidently what I have to do. And I'm never, ever, I freak out when people tell me like, oh, I'm making like, 12% profits. And I'm like, dude, you're in the danger zone. Danger zone. I'm serious. I get freaked out, man. It's like if you're, for me, that's a scary number, because too many green industry business owners, they'll like try to copy like Brickman, or not Brickman. What are they called now? Not Valley Crest,
I have
Brightview,
no idea.
Brightview,
Right view.
Brickman and Valley Crest, or whatever the hell it was called. They merged together to become the one I just said, the the new one. Anyway, they run off of very small margins. That's why they, it's like they make it in bulk. They're a huge monster. They have a lot of things to carry, and it's like, I remember when Brickman was going to be bought out, they had to share all their financial information. They had to make it public. And I was looking at it, and I remember I was telling Naylor and Paul and a few other guys, I'm like, oh, I'm like, Brickman's got to release their numbers. And they're like, okay, nerd, what, who cares? And I'm like, you guys don't understand. Like, they're operating off of like a 2% margin. And it's like, okay. And I'm like, that means if you were a small company that had low volume, and if you're following their pricing module, or their pricing model, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Mm.
You're preparing yourself to go out of business without knowing it, because any little problem that you have is gonna, your profits are gonna go away instantaneously. So anyway, if I know what my, to go back without all the extra stuff I do, make sure you understand what your break evens are, and I would at least try to shoot for a 20% margin. at least. And I know you're like, with mowing, that is, for us, when we still had our mowing division, I was shooting for higher, but on average, we were getting about 18% margins. And a lot of people are excited about that. I was not excited about it because it's a very labor heavy, equipment heavy service that could get really messed up by weather, things that are out of our control. So 18% margin, hey, yeah, a lot of people are like, you could still make a fantastic life for yourself with an 18% margin, but you just have to remember, it's like for every $100 you're spending or charging, you're only keep bringing in $18. Okay, so that's to put it into perspective. What I generally shoot for, I mean, you have to go beyond. Okay, you can't just throw something against the wall and see what sticks. Do your research. Okay, one thing besides trying to find out what your clients, or excuse me, your competition's charging, I know what they charge just to find out what it is, but I don't base it off of them. That's why, like, if you go through budgets, break even, the bottom lines with me, I don't care where you're at. It's not like I say, hey, you have to charge this much. It's based off of several things. It's based off of how much your expenses are, what your market will actually support, and then what your goals are. Because if you don't have a target, you're not. You're just going to be all over the place. It's like, well, I want to get a new truck, or personally, like, hey, I want to send my daughter to private school or something. Whatever it is. Well, you have to make X amount of dollars to achieve that. And if you know what your bottom line is, if you know what your break even is, then you could start adjusting your pricing to match what your target demographic is going to be able to pay. And what your goals are. It's like, well, if I have friend competitors, they're friendly competitors. That's what I call them, friend competitors.
Like that. Friend competitors.
So, there's frenemies, right? People that are friends, but they actually hate each other's guts. I'm like, I have friend competitors. They're competitors, but I still like them. And we're friendly. I open conversations. And I've helped quite a few of them raise their prices to make sure that, it's not racketeering or anything. It's not like price fixing, but it's like, dude, you're not charging enough. It's like you're working all the time and you're never home. Why don't you just raise your prices? You might lose a few accounts, but at the same time, like, you're going to make more money and be able to hang on to it and actually be home by like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock at night. See the kids for a change, But you have to do some research. I'm going to give you guys a website that you should check out. It's datausa.io. This is a tool that I've been using for many years. It's free. And what you could do is you could put your like zip code in that you want to work in, and it'll give you the demographics of. Yes, sir.
No, the camera was moving. I had to
Oh,
turn that
gotcha.
off.
The demographics are listed on there, so you'll find out stuff like household median income, how much their houses are worth. You'll get like what kind of jobs are the most popular in that area. Like, they collect all this data, and it really helped me refine like our service areas. Because like when I first started, we were doing like 8 different towns, and then now we only do 2. And the main reason for it is because I know what the median age is, I know what the median income is, and instead of wasting time going into parts of town where it looks okay, they don't have as much disposable income to afford our services. So instead, I focus on places that have a lot of disposable income. Because if you think about it, pretty much everything in the green industry is a luxury service. I don't care if you're mowing lawns, or you're digging a ditch, or putting in new plants. Technically, they don't need that to live, right?
Right.
So it's a luxury to have somebody come and take care of your property for you. So just put that in your mindset too, okay? But when you start doing that research and you find out where you should be at working, I'm surrounded by towns that they're they're old, maybe like Griffith, Indiana, is a prime example. It's an older part of town. Most people are retirees, but they're living off of Social Security. They're not ones that have like the 401ks and Roth IRAs or any investments or anything. They literally have very small pensions, if any, and they're living off of Social Security. They can't afford a lot of stuff. Do they need the services? Sometimes, yes. They don't need me to come and spray their lawns, but they definitely need somebody to come and mow the lawn for them. So and they're looking for the cheapest that they can. They're still out there going, "Can you cut my lawn for $20?" I'm like, "No, I'm sorry, can't do it." But it costs me more in fuel to get here than, not to be mean. I'll leave that for somebody else. But
No.
uh, when you're pricing it, another thing you could do is split test it. Like if you have to raise prices on your people, if you're going to do that, like at the beginning of this season, you don't do it for everybody, but just take a small core of your people. What I like to do is, like, especially because we have very tight routes, I'll take the people that are on the outskirts. That especially when we were mowing, I'm like, I had all these people that are on the outskirts, and I'm like, man, it actually takes more than like 5 minutes to get to this place, and I don't actually like doing this lot.
Yeah.
Let me see if they'll pay more, because if they pay more, then it's going to work out. If not, I'm not, and they quit, it's okay. I'll raise their prices first. I'll do split testing on pricing, and especially with new clients, I will take like the next 20 clients and say, let's see if we could push it a little, and I'll bump up my prices to see if they'll still bite. And that happens a lot of times. New clients will call up, and I'll give them a price that's higher than what we're normally charging. And if I get like out of okay, so like if you take the next 20 clients, the potential clients, and you close between 6 to 8 of them, 6, 7, or 8, you're in the right. Your pricing is still good, because generally when somebody says that they're closing 100%, that means you're too cheap and you're leaving money
Yes.
on the table. I personally, I'm happy with a 35% rate, and you're like, well, that's 1 out of 10. That's like 3.5 people. I say 35% because I either want 3 people or 4 people. Something just popped up on my phone.
That happens to me all the time.
The recording error, but anyway.
Whoa. I don't know what just happened there. Payjack will pop back in here, I'm sure. But for anyone who is not sure about Payjack's budgets, break evens, and bottom line, here's Lemire Landscaping, who's giving him an endorsement right here live for you. It says, I highly suggest anyone who wants to run their business correctly and profitably take Payjack's break evens, budgets, break evens, and bottom lines. It is the best investment he's made. So right there is for you. And Payjack is back.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. It was like all of a sudden something happened. Was that Lemire?
Yeah, we'll put
Yeah,
that back up
he.
there.
I forgot. I was going to say he won something too. He won I think one of the Milwaukee's or something at the raffle at Lawn
That's
Care
the
Life.
other one. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. And then Crest was like, give that here. We want to give you this good stuff.
yeah. There you go.
Shout out to Crest.
Cress is awesome. Todd
All right.
Zimmerman, Meg. Anyway, go ahead.
Nope. So it says,
Did I fully answer that question for you? I'm sorry.
I think so. The people on Instagram over here are saying absolute great value tonight. Let me know on the YouTube comments. Are you getting some value from this conversation? Hopefully, getting your money right. We got another question here, and Payjack. We got 2 more questions that we're going to take. One from G6 Landscaping and Snow Removal, and the next one will be from Kendra James again. So we got 2 more questions. Payjack was driving for 10 straight hours to get back to his humble abode, and so we want to be uh, you know, respectful of his time. But again, if you want, I got nobody here tonight. My little 5-year-old is already asleep, so we can go
We'll
live
go,
again.
man.
Mm.
Let's go. We'll tear it up, man. Because like I'm giving them the professional stuff. We get in the fun stuff too, man. Like
Yeah, all right. Bet.
you
So
know,
we got two
we
more
could do
questions. Go
two
ahead.
more questions. We could start talking about other cool stuff too. But
Word, yeah.
hey, Alan, thank you for your comment and everything. I enjoy working with you, man, and I'm so happy. I'm so excited for him this upcoming season because we're gonna tear it up, man. It's gonna be. I'm gonna. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we're
all
gonna
right.
we're we got to talk to Alan again in like 4 months, and go at least one quarter into the season, and then have him come back on,
No doubt.
brag on me a little bit more,
There's nothing
brag on
better
him because he's gonna kill it.
than the people who are out here to give you a live testimony right here on the Attack with Mac. Trying to give you this good value. So we said we got another one here. G6 Landscaping and Snow Removal said, "What's your thoughts on donating profits to nonprofits? Make sure you pay your
Oh,
tithes and offerings at church. That's one of the
yes,
good nonprofits you can do, and God will bless you if you pay your 10% to the world. That's how I look at it. It ain't to the church. It's to the world, and it's for God, man. He blessed
hmm
you so you could make money. You could give a little back. He ain't even asking for a lot. 10%'s nothing. Pay your tithes
yeah,
and offerings, man. What's your
yeah. I
thoughts on
mean,
that?
oh, definitely, absolutely. I mean, do we tithe? Tithe means 10%. But we tithe off of our profits, not off our top number, because God wants the fruits of your labor, not the whole tree. Okay.
Mm,
He doesn't want you to chop down the tree, take 10% of the tree off. He wants the fruits that come from that tree that you've built. So if you imagine your business is the tree and that you've nurtured it, the bigger the tree that you grow, the more fruit it's going to produce. And the Lord just wants us to give that 10%. Um, so yes, we do that based off of our profits. Other things, like if you're going to give, like if you just want to help whatever your nonprofit is, whatever it is you believe in, whatever you get behind, yeah, I mean, you could do that. Just don't expect to uh don't expect Uncle Sam to give you a tax break on it. Okay. This is the one thing that I have conflicts with is God, who gave us everything and continues to give us everything, just asks for 10%. Uncle Sam is out there, and you know why he's got such a big hat, that big stovepipe hat? Is to get more and more stuffed in it. That's what he's stuffing those coffers, and then he jams that thing back on and goes on to the next guy and wants more and more. I mean, 35% of our profits sometimes go to Uncle Sam. I don't think that's right, but um, anyway, to stay on topic with the question at hand, yeah, I mean, this is the beautiful thing about profits. You could do whatever you wish to do with them. Again, three big things you could do. One, reinvest in your business. One, pad your own pockets, uh, because you deserve it. You think about it. You've put up, as the owner, you have put up all the risk. You did all the blood, sweat, tears, and years of investing into this thing that's actually taking care of your family, possibly taking care of others' family. You deserve the reward, and the reward is profits. And then again, if you want to, you could say, you know what? I made this much in profit. I'm going to take half of it. I'll put more in the business. I'll take a sliver of it, and I'm going to give it to this nonprofit, whether it be church or something that you truly believe in. I'm
right.
not going to dictate what you. That's the thing. Profits are the thing that you could do whatever you want with. There's, it's yours. If you earned it, you could spend it however you wish.
And this is why I wanted to have this conversation so that we could get our money right. Because, like Dave Ramsey says, if you get your money right and you live like no one else, then later you can live and give like no one else. When you have your money right, you can do a lot of good things for the world, man. And
Mhm.
like whether it's taking trips with your family or giving to a homeless person that's on the street, sponsoring a child's baseball game, or buying groceries for the person that just happened to be behind you in the grocery line. When you got your money right, that's what this is all about. Getting your money right so you can be a cheerful giver. It's hard sometimes when you're broke to be a cheerful
Mhm.
giver. It's hard sometimes to do that. But when you got plenty of money and your cup runneth over because you're doing good things and getting your money right, then you can give like no one else. And the
Right.
people who give the most are the people who get remembered. No one gets remembered for what they do for themselves. We
You
remember
know,
those who give to other people. Go ahead, Payjack.
I was just going to say there's a beautiful story that my priest told probably 6 months ago, but I still remember it. He was pointing out, that sometimes when we come into money, it's very easy for us to just, oh, here, you open up your pocketbook and you give out a little bit of money here and there, and we feel good about it. But he said this one time there was this older woman, she barely making it, but she would give, you know, say $5. That $5 to her meant so much more than if I pulled out like, $100 bill. I'm looking at that and it's like, yeah, here's $100. Uh, but it for her, every penny meant something.
Mhm.
And she was so joyful to give it as much as possible. Even though her amount is much smaller, it made more of an impact because this was a lot more money to her. This meant more to her than, oh, hey, somebody else might just drop 500 bills real quick and it's no big deal. For her, it's like this is the difference between hunger and, you know tithing. But the thing is, no matter what, she was always joyful about it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you have to remember too, especially when you're tithing. There's two rules that we always have. Like, I'm Orthodox Christian, and we're supposed to tithe in secret, but with a happy heart. So we don't make a big show of it. We don't go out and say, oh, like they in the church I'm currently going to, they do pass the plate around, and you don't sit there and start counting out a wad and then drop it in there or whatever. Matter of fact, a lot of people, like my mother, she does not touch that plate. But and I'm going to kind of ruin the secrecy of it. My mother puts that money, she sends it to the office there, and or actually she doesn't even send it to the office. She does it. They have like an online thing where
Yeah.
she tries to do it anonymously, but I'm like, Mom, they can still see who you are, But anyway, she doesn't make a show of it during church. She tithes in secret, and that's the way it should be. And then not only that, but when you give with that happy heart. It should bring you joy to give. If you're resentful about it, it's not quite the same.
I heard Denzel Washington say that giving is one of the most selfish things that you can actually do because of what it does for you. Like
Hmm.
when you give to someone, my favorite things to do is I grew up with an incarcerated parent. My father was in prison for most of my life, and so one of the things that really means a lot to me is this thing called the angel tree. And what it is parents who are incarcerated in prison, they will write down some things that they would like to get for their children. Obviously, they've done some things, but we ain't judging nobody on what they've done. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me because I know what it feels like to have a parent be in prison. And I know what it feels like to get a present from that parent because believe me, most of them are thinking about their children when it comes to those times for the holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving, Easter, birthdays, Christmas, especially. And one of the things that brings a lot of joy to my heart is taking four, five, six, now 10 of the little things that go out and then going to the store and blessing those children. We even buy things that aren't on the list because my
Hmm.
wife is big on accessories, Payjack. And so one of the things I like to do is really bless. the kid or children of the angel trees that we get, because I remember what it was like whenever I was a kid, John. I remember, bruh. And I remember there was some joyful givers, because, man, when you give to a child, way their face lights up, and we don't get to see from the angel tree. I'm just telling you from my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got picked. We were a low income family, obviously, single mom, 3 kids. And I got picked one time as a third grader for a shopping spree at Toys R Us. And
Oh man.
bruh, I thought that I actually won something. I didn't
Yeah.
realize till later in life that I didn't win anything. That a teacher or a principal or a guidance counselor or some other parent knew that we were struggling as a family. And
Mm-hmm.
this gets me emotional, because I was probably like 8 years old, and I knew right then, like, I'm a big brother and I'm the man of the house. Like, I'm 8 and I knew I was the man of the house. And during that shopping spree that was donated to me from two wonderful people, I was able to get $100. Now, back when I was a third grader, I don't even know what year that was, probably like 91 or something like that. $100 was literally $100. It's like $10 now, but that
Mm-hmm.
$100, I was able to buy all types of toys for my younger brother and younger sister. I didn't even buy anything for myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know how happy I was, John, to do that? And you know what? When I told the people that had given, because they let all of the people who donated come to the Toys R Us too. Like, so I knew the people who basically was my sponsor for this. I knew them. I got to see them. And they were like, "You didn't get anything for yourself?" And I was like, "No, I got a younger brother
Mm-hmm.
and sister, man. And I get to be Santa Claus." I knew then, you know. I won't spoil it.
Yeah.
You know, Santa Claus is real. And these people were Santa Claus for me. And they gave me
Right.
another 100. I got 200 bucks.
Oh.
They were like, "You have to buy something for yourself." So be a cheerful giver, man, because God will bless you just like those people blessed me. I love to use your profits. I highly recommend using your profits to be charitable
Oh
to
yeah.
nonprofits or to whoever it may be.
Well, you kind of you kind of ratted me out a little bit at the beginning of the show with your I know you're being grateful, but at the same time, uh you know I, I picked up the dinner for those 2 nights because I appreciate everybody, and I'm grateful, and I wanted to just show that gratitude, as a matter of fact, this on the second night when we went to Habaneros, there were some people that group was different the second night. There were still some people that were similar, but duplicates. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I invited everybody. I found the places. I called up to make sure that they could handle such a large crowd, and I had said, let's come with me, and we're gonna eat. And it's like, uh, I, I wasn't looking for anybody to make a big deal out of it. I was just like, no, we're going to take care of it. The second night, actually, I knew people were looking for me, and I had to put my ninja skills into play.
Yeah.
And almost even like Paul Jameson and Naylor were sitting right next to me, and they didn't even see me get up. They didn't even see me. They didn't see me go and do everything. And I was like, uh, you were surprised, and that was the point. There's a story that it sticks out with me, and Hulk Hogan was reliving, or no, I take that back. It wasn't Hulk Hogan. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was recapping a story about Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant was the WWE WWF wrestler. Um, huge back in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know who Andre the Giant is, you got to look him up, okay? If everybody's my age, you know who he is. But the thing is, he was a really huge dude, massive. He truly was a giant. And he was known for his hospitality, because most of the time, he would drink more and eat more than everybody else. So if he took you out for dinner, he was going to pay for it. There was no question about it. Otherwise, shake you around until you said, okay, 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 please. Uh, I don't want to shake people down and shake them around. But the funny story with Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know how big he is, right?
Yeah.
He visited uh, Andre one time, went to a wrestling match and watched, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to take you out for dinner." And he's like, "No, I'm going to." Andre the Giant's like, "No, I'm going to pay." And they keep going back and forth, and he goes, "Okay, you'll pay." And Andre the Giant just goes and grabs Arnold Schwarzenegger and just lifts him up effortlessly, puts him on this like dresser, and then goes and pays the bill. And Schwarzenegger, the way he talks about it, he's like, yeah, he just picked me up like no problem, threw me up on this thing and left me there and went and paid the bill, and then came back and grabbed him after everything was done. He's like, I pay, you know. So if I ever invite you out, I'm going to pay for it. Now, if you show up and you expect me to pay, and you're just like, oh, I'm crashing the party, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll still pay.
Well, what
But
I'll say is it was like I said earlier, it was incredibly awkward because I'm a guy that pays as well, and
mhm.
not that I was about to pay for that big group, but it was two big groups, and it's not the same if you pull out your phone and video record yourself being charitable. Then you're just looking for clicks and likes. That's not the
And that's
same. Payjack.
exactly.
That's just why I said it is because it was a blessing to not just myself, but 14 people at the first dinner, and I want to say like 19 or 20 of us at the second dinner. And people paid money to come to the event, right? And then you have to eat and do all of those things. Although Jason and his wife Tracy provided some phenomenal food on both
Mhm.
days, you still got to eat dinner after the events and everything. So we did that, and that's why exactly why I'm actually happy that G6 asked that question because it was just amazing to see, and I didn't even know the first day. I didn't even see it happen the second time, but when everyone started to get up and leave and no checks came, I kind of already knew what had happened, and so I appreciate it, John, because being a cheerful giver again. If
Yeah.
you give cheerfully, God smiles upon you, man. Like we're not talking to you without God. The opportunities that we have in our lives are not there without Him. So to give to His people, no matter who they are, man, woman, child, old person, even, animals and all of that good jazz.
Mhm.
It's a powerful thing that will actually help you in your life. It was actually one of Paul's tips. He said, give something to someone that's homeless and watch what happens for you. He makes it a point to do that, and I think that we all should. But we got to get to this last question, John. I don't know if
Yeah.
someone else is, but it was from Kendra, and Kendra James says, "How do you get more landscaping, and what's the best marketing to use to get more clients?" I'll say real quickly. For me personally, because John's been in the game a lot longer than I have, I'm sure he can give you some other tips. But for me personally, right now, no question, it is Google. To be registered on Google, it's one of the first things I would recommend that anyone does if you're just starting out. But if you're been in business and you want to get some leads generated, how do you find things? I'm willing to bet it is by going to Google on your phone and putting that in. You want to find fast food near me, landscaping in my area, uh, gym that I want to go to, what's the best restaurant in Pittsburgh, all of that stuff. I know me personally, I go to Google. But John, what are some other things besides Google that maybe some people can use if they want to get more landscaping? And what are your thoughts on the best marketing?
Well, I use Bing, and that search engine really has worked for me.
No, I agree with you. The Google business listing, keeping that up to date is critical because exactly like you said, Mac. What do we do when we're looking for something? We Google it. We just look, finding restaurants. Okay, restaurant near me. Boom, you find it, right? Lawn care near me, landscaping near me. Make sure there's many levels to this. So there's I'll give you some steps kind of like in the order that I would do it.
Mhm.
First and foremost, if you can, you have a website, but no matter if you have a website or not, get your Google business listing, no matter what. That a lot of people don't realize that, your Google business listing is kind of like a social media in a sense, because you shouldn't just create it and then forget about it. Do things like update your hours throughout the season. So if you are going to be off for 4th of July, make sure you update your listing. Adding pictures to your listing. Trying to reach out to your existing clients to give reviews. Okay, what that's going to do now, Google has changed over a lot over the years. Before, if you had a good website with good SEO and you had your Google business listing taken care of, you would show up in the box, the map box, right? That was like if you're in that, you're gold, because that was at the very top of the page.
Yes.
And then if you could get your organic listing to be the top 1 or 2, maybe 3, you're pretty much guaranteed that people were going to be calling you first, and make sure you pick up the phone or you respond to their, if they go to your website and whatever, make sure that you're responding to them very quickly. Things have changed now, because now you have like Google's like got the pay to play guys that are above the fold of the Google listing, the map part. One, I would definitely say get your Google business listing squared away. Have a solid website. If you're going to do Google ads to where your placement's higher, that has gotten better ROI for us. Another level of this is going into the neighborhoods that you work in already. And I keep thinking you're raising your hand,
No,
brother.
if you see that, I'm
I get it.
sorry. This damn camera. I didn't even do anything and it started
Yeah,
following me.
I saw it. I was like, woo!
I
But
know.
anyway, going back to even if let's just say you're like, man, I don't know about all the Google stuff. That stuff I would really focus on. But then the second thing I would do is one of the things that really built our business and made it really nice and tight. So when we stop, we drop the trailer, the trailer gate, and we're doing like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 accounts all in once. There's several stops that we have where there's we we call them 5 bangers. We just drop the gate, and we knock out 5, and then we drive halfway down the block and we got another 4 or 5. So that's the type of routes you're trying to look. And to get those, you could start out with postcards or door hangers. Okay, both work. And here's the thing, here's a little secret. Okay, it's not really a secret, but it's a good approach to doing this. You put those postcards out, right? You send them to them so they show up in their mailbox, and you're specific about it. A lot of people do EDDM, which is every door direct mail. That it can work, but when you buy a route, you might end up sending out 4,000 flyers to it, and then you might not get a good return, because usually if somebody gets a postcard, they look at it, they're like, oh, what's this? Okay, postcard, this is junk. Boom, they throw it right away. But sometimes they never look at it. They just go, that's garbage.
That's
Never makes
definitely
it into
me.
the house. Yeah,
Straight to the garbage.
exactly. So there's a whole marketing plan that we have where we send to a smaller group of homes, but we do it more frequently. If we're in that neighborhood, one of the other effective things is our trucks are branded, our uniforms are all uniform, all our branding matches. So when we put a sign in the yard for spraying, exactly, Max got it all lined up. Even behind him, he's got everything, right? Everything matches. Okay, doesn't have to be really expensive, but if you start branding and showing people, they see your name all the time. That's the thing. It's all about these touches. It used to be, before things got too congested, it would take 7 touches for somebody to call you. And what I mean by that, they'd have to see your name or get a marketing piece like at least 7 times to see it before they even decided to make a decision like yay or nay. Nowadays, there's so much static, there's so much background noise, there's so much traffic in all the things we look at. We look at Instagram, we look at Facebook, we look at, whatever social media you're looking at, it doesn't matter. The mailers, the door hangers, the Google ads, all these things. We're bombarded with all of this. Now they say it takes an average of 21 touches. That's a really gropey dude, man. You got to be groping people, to make those. It's like, okay, dude, I see you. I see that you don't want to be annoying, but at the same time, or get a sexual assault thrown on your ass either. But you definitely want to make sure that people know who you are, and a combination of digital marketing and traditional like paper marketing. People go, I did postcards, I did door hangers, I did flyers. They never worked. It's like, well, ask yourself, how did you do that? Did you just send out one round of it and then just got like no calls and said, forget it, this is worthless? Or you persisted and you had many different tendrils of different lines? Because I've noticed when we have multiple points of contact, that's when we get a neighborhood calling us.
Yeah.
Because one, if they just see us, they see our trucks, they see our uniforms, that makes an impression. They see our flags that we leave behind for the applications, they're branded. They see that. Then we do like we call, a 5 around or a 9 around.
Yep.
Some people call it clover leafing. And what you do is you have your house, let's say it's a 5 around. You go to the house that's next door, you go across the street, you hit the 3 that are right across the street, and then you cross the street again, get the other one that's on the other side of the one you already take care of. That's a 5 around.
Yes.
9 around, you just extend it two to next to your place. You do the 5 across the street, and then you come back, hit the 2 that are on the other side of the house that you do. You hit them with a door hanger. You purposely send just those houses postcards showing what you do. The whole objective really is to get them to call you or to go to your website to learn more information.
Yes.
When you use all those things, use all these tools, don't think of it as just like a one silver bullet's going to fix everything. A lot of times it takes a lot of ammunition. They're little small things, but then the next thing you know, it's like when I get a call after we've done a marketing campaign, they're like, man, we see you everywhere. You must be a huge company. It's like, no, we're a local company. We're family owned. We only have 3 technicians. I don't have to say that, but it's not like we have 20 trucks out there.
Right.
We're just making the best of what we have, and then that way we zone in on these neighborhoods, and we're especially for maintenance, that's the best way to do. Landscaping jobs, it's a little bit different because you could definitely still try to stay in those same neighborhoods, but you might have to cast a wider net to where it's like, hey, you know what, the landscape job, they're gonna have that done like once, or maybe if it's like mulch or something, it's like, okay, that's an annual thing. But if you're building hardscapes or you're installing huge landscape design, you'll have to throw a bigger net. But again, go back to finding your demographic. You need to find your ideal client and build a avatar for them.
Yep.
So it's like, what do they have in the driveway? What kind of house do they have? Because typically those things will dictate like how much money they have, if they have the disposable income. And you can find a lot of that data like on datausa.io. I don't get that's no throwback, I don't get any affiliate or anything for that. That's just a really helpful tool that I found years ago that's helped me find the right places to work and focus my marketing in.
What I would say about marketing in general is, like John said, if you want landscaping stuff, you are going to have to cast a bigger net because there's just not as many people looking for that as there is for lawn maintenance. And it's a real easy thing to do is knock on doors and stuff that are around the houses that you are. But I would 100 this is what I would do. All right. Invest in your uniforms. If we're talking about where you should put your marketing dollars first. This is and I'm telling you what I did. There's other people that do things other ways, but for me, my investment was in my uniforms, my shirts, my hoodies, uh, which is expensive when you buy in bulk and everything. It becomes expensive that way. But so is everyday direct door mailer. So are yard signs. So are getting 1,000 or 5,000 business cards to do these things with. So where I put my money was because I've never done any of those. I have a digital business card. Used yard signs like once and didn't see anything from that. I've never done a EDD direct door mail thing. I haven't used postcards or anything because I throw them away. So I expect that that's what most people are going to do, and I'm just literally throwing money away in my personal experience. So where I spent my money was number one, uniforms. Number two, getting my trailer logoed up. And just like John said earlier, I literally only have one truck at this point. I'm starting a second truck this year, but I've only had one truck and people have been like, "Yo, we see your trucks everywhere." And I'm like, "No, you see my one truck and it's me and Captain Jack, one employee." So people think that my business is a lot bigger than it actually is in the community, and it's because they see the truck driving around all the time. Right? So I spent money on getting my truck and my not my well, my dump truck before I got rid of it. Now I have 2 more trucks, so we're gonna be putting some logos and stuff on there. But getting my uniforms, getting my truck logoed up, Google and everything else has been free. Google, my man DK Lawn Service said, next door, I'm on there as well. You got the Facebook, which is free. You can boost post if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it. But you can get into private Facebook community groups, which I'm in, and your social media. If I were you, I'd start a YouTube channel, even if you don't plan on being a content creator. That was one of the main things that Alan Haynes said at the Lawn Care Life thing. It's the second that you start putting yourself on the internet, and like me and John both recommend, now you're on Google, the Google
Hmm.
algorithm and all of that. You don't even really. The website is also another way. I forgot to add that one. I paid for my website. I built it myself, but I pay a subscription through GoDaddy or whatever the hell that
Hmm.
is for the yearly thing. But those are the three things that I paid for: uniforms, get my truck logoed up, and creating a website. And where was I going with that? Sheesh, I hate when that happens, John. But I haven't spent any money. Is the point? You don't have to spend money. Oh, the SEO thing. So before you used to have to put keywords and everything on your website and all. I'm not saying that you don't have to do that, but an easy way to get ranked higher is to create some YouTube videos because Google owns YouTube. And if you're on YouTube and you got 20, 30, 40 videos on there, when people put in your name or lawn care near me and you have a lawn care or landscaping or hardscaping, whatever your service business is or business in general, if you have YouTube videos on that, Google is going to smile upon you like the Lord smiles upon you if you do your tithing. So get your SEO right by just creating content, hashtag your area that you're in on every single post. Every time you upload a picture on your Google page, on your Instagram, on your TikTok, whatever the case may be, make sure you hashtag your local area. It will help to raise you up. It will help you raise up like the third day with Jesus, man. So use the free stuff first. And then once you get yourself so big and you actually have a marketing budget and you want to lower your tax liability, then you can up the ante and maybe do an everyday direct door mailer. But use all of the free stuff first. And if I were you, w- I'm not do what you want to do. It's your world. We're just living in it. But what I did was uniforms, truck logo, trailer logo, website. Those are the three things that I actually spent money on. Everything else I've done has been free. Now we got one more question, John, from Kendra. She says, hopefully this is a she. If not, I apologize to you. But Kendra says, last question, I promise. When should I get an LLC?
Uh, just to go back to one thing real quick, I want to comment. Like, if you do this right, your marketing shouldn't cost you a thing. And even though you see a dollar bill go out, usually every time I spend a dollar, I'm gonna get like $4 or $5, maybe $6 back. Just because, I mean, I've been in this industry for like over 25 years now. I want you to start thinking a little bit bigger, and instead of saying, "Man, this costs me money," it's like, nope, this is gonna earn. I'm gonna make more money with it. But just to just kind of wrap that up, I'm not trying to contradict anything you're saying, Mac, but
Oh no.
there is that mindset of, I'm not going to spend money on this because I could grow. It's like, if you want to, once you start getting the hang of it, you're going to realize spending a little bit of money is going to reap massive rewards for you. So this last question, when should you have an LLC? I mean, eh, I would probably do it now. I mean, it's when we first started, we just formed the LLC because what it does. Okay, if you're a solo member or a single member LLC, even though it's a pass-through entity, it does have some benefits to it, because now, like, if you're operating as a sole proprietor, you are exposing yourself to, let's just say somebody sues you. Now your personal assets are also at risk. It's not you as the solo operator in your business, but it's also, well, you know, they could possibly go after you too, and more than likely they will, because they just see you as the one entity. They see you as the person. If you have an LLC, and even a single member LLC, you're supposed to have, you get a registered agent. You could list yourself as a registered agent, which means any kind of important notifications get sent directly to you about your business entity. You could actually, there's companies out there you could hire to be your registered agent. It kind of helps keep the corporate veil intact. And what I mean by that is, imagine kind of like how this split screen is right now. You got, let's say Mac is the business, and it's Page X over here, right? This is my personal, this is me. Hi. But I have built the business. The LLC is Mac. Okay. Even though I can't go into his screen right now, but even though I'm part of that, there's this veil, there's this divide. Okay. So you're behind the corporate veil. Like, no matter how far, like, you can see me right now, I'm trying to reach out. I'm trying to reach into Mac. I can't go over there, because if I keep my business, and I keep my personal stuff personal, and I do everything right, they can't, say Mac does something like, he's, an employee of mine, and he slams one of the business trucks into a busload of nuns. Okay. Because Mac's always going, he sees those nuns, and he's just like, yeah. Forgive me, Lord. But anyway, because I'm not driving it, even though I'm the owner, like, they could come after me personally if I was driving the truck and I smacked into the bunch of nuns. They could come after me personally, right? Doesn't matter. But because he's an employee of mine, he's driving my truck, and we keep all our personal stuff personal, we keep our business stuff business, and they can't pierce the corporate veil. They can only go after my business assets. So, like, that would put, like, if they're going to sue us and insurance doesn't cover it or whatever, they can only go for what is in the bank account for the business. They can't come after my home. They're not going to be able to get access to my stuff. And this is another reason. There's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down with this, about having your personal assets set up under another LLC or a trust. So, like, not necessarily that you don't own anything, but your cars and stuff are off the plate. So when they look at you, the lawyers will look at you, you personally, and be like, how can we prove that he messed up and pierced the corporate veil so we have a hole that we could now go after his personal assets? Anyway, let me dial it back and just keep it simple. I would definitely just go ahead and form an LLC now, and then be very diligent about keeping the business and your personal life separate. It'll
Yeah.
help you in the case of, because I mean, look at how sue happy people are. You know, if you you know, I've had accidents where it took me about 20 years to break a window, mowing lawns. One day I finally broke a window. It shot a dog toy that was buried in like some very deep, tall grass. It shot it through a picture window. And, if God forbid, if I would have hit somebody, or even if the people weren't cool, like they could have been like, yeah, we're suing you for damages because even though we had everything fixed before we left, we had a company come out and board up the window, and we had somebody come out to measure for the window, and they were fixed up within a couple days. We left the house secure, but if they wanted to, they could have sued us. They could have been like, yeah, you broke our window, you did damage in the interior of the house, God forbid it would have hit somebody. They could have taken everything from me if I didn't have if my LLC wasn't set up the way it is. So at least, they would have went after whatever business assets they could have gotten, but my personal home and investments and all those things would have been protected. They are protected. So,
Yeah.
just to drive it
And,
home, do it now.
and
It's cheap. It's very cheap.
no doubt. And another way to protect yourself is not just to have an LLC, but make sure that you have the proper insurances, man.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people out here that I know for sure. I'm not calling anyone out. But if this is you and this message is for you, like sometimes when we go to church and you feel like the pastor is talking directly to you, is if you do not have the proper insurances, if you do not have commercial auto insurance on
Yeah.
your truck or your car, whatever you're using to transport your equipment around for you to do these things, if you do not have general liability insurance for your business, if you do not have workman's comp insurance and you have employees, you are just one mistake away from absolute disaster.
And I'm
Please
so
do yourself a favor and make sure you have the proper insurances. I maybe missed some that maybe you should have. I
mhm.
don't know, but man, look for the proper insurances so that you don't really hurt yourself when you're trying to do nothing but help people and help your family and your family tree. Don't let
Yeah,
insurance or an accident be the reason that uh you can't do that. Go ahead, John.
I apologize for cutting you off. I love that you brought that up because that's a perfect example of piercing the corporate veil. Let's just say you have the LLC and you're set up and you're using, like our trucks are registered with the business. The business owns those trucks. I don't. If you were to, let's just say I can't do that right now. And the rates are cheaper if I have it under my name, right? For your personal, like, hey, I got Jake's taking care of, without dropping a name, Jake's taking care of our insurance, right? And we have house and auto, and I could add my business truck as an additional auto, and I'm going to save more money on our premiums. That is an example. If it's, hey, you know what? Instead of Turf Camera Lawn Care, uh, having the truck insured under that with a commercial policy like we have now, let's just say I was driving that truck and I had it under my personal auto insurance. That's an example of piercing the corporate veil because now I have broken through that wall, that curtain. I've peeled that back, and now there's a direct connection between my business and my personal life, and lawyers will find that. They can find out pretty much everything they need to know about you. And they'll be like, you wrecked into, that bus full of nuns, and it turns out you don't have commercial insurance. You have that under your personal name. So even though Mac did it with a business truck, because I had that insured under my personal auto insurance. Now they could reach over and you're like, yep, we're bringing you in, and all of your assets, uh, all of your investments, all of your home, your everything that is on the chopping block. Now we are going to pick you apart and dismantle you because our client, you know, that we're going to give it to our client. Um, so I'm glad that you brought that up because that's a perfect example of piercing the corporate veil.
Yeah, man. It's a scary thing to think too. And like John said, man, people are so sue happy out here. Like
Hmm.
they're just looking for a way to make their life easier by taking advantage of a mistake that you made. And you have no one to blame but yourself if you don't have those proper insurances.
Hmm.
A quick story about that was make sure also that you do what you're supposed to do if you get a new vehicle. When I purchased my dump truck, I went from uh, an over purchased Ram 2500 Power Wagon. I was trying to keep up with the Joneses. I do not recommend
Hmm.
this. All right. I wanted to have a dope personal truck because I seen other people on the internet with dope personal trucks. And then I realized I don't need this. This does not get the job done for me. It's nothing, doing nothing but pulling around a couple of lawnmowers and a trailer and everything. It's not helping me get anything done. It's actually holding me back. And I hated the way it sounded because it had off-road tires. It was very loud to drive around with all the time. But anyway, whenever I got rid of that truck after about 7 months of having it, I decided to get the dump truck. Now the dump truck's gone now because it outlived my needs for it, and I was only using it for certain things once I got my Ram 1500. But when I got that dump truck, they didn't move my commercial auto policy over to the dump truck as well. So, although I had a commercial policy, it was still on my Power Wagon and hadn't yet been put onto my dump truck because of my own ignorance. I thought every other car I've ever had, they do it at the dealership. But I bought it on a Sunday and I guess they couldn't do it that day. And so it was my
Yeah, they don't do it on
responsibility.
Sundays.
It was my responsibility to get that insurance moved over to the dump truck. So I drove around for an entire month with no insurance on that truck and didn't even realize it until one day I went to a place called Carnivores. It's a bar that me and my football teammates would go to every Sunday after our football games that were normally in the morning. And I had the dump truck parked. It's a small parking lot, and the Pitt Panthers, I want to say volleyball team was playing against Wisconsin. So there were a lot of people in the parking lot where there normally wasn't. And I went to leave and I backed out. And because the truck was so big, I barely tapped a rental car that was, I want to say it was a Chevy Malibu. I barely tapped the trunk. So I hit it so lightly that I didn't even realize that it happened. So I drive out of the parking lot and I had to go down this back alley and then I come back down to come down a one-way street and people were literally running into the street. Hey, you're trying to hit and run this car. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't even know that I tapped the car. I barely touched it. But, cars are not well built like they used to be. Most of them were fiberglass and aluminum. And so
Mhm.
this trunk was completely like caved in. All right. I parked the truck, went back in, found the person who it was. We exchanged insurance information, and he was totally a gem. He was so cool. He was like, "Oh, it's nothing, man. It's just a rental car. We don't even care, but we want to make sure that we get our insurances and everything." So we did that. The police had to come because people called the police because that's what they do. They couldn't just let us handle it. They
Mhm.
had to call the police and be Karens and Kens. But I needed them to do that because I didn't even know I hit the thing. So it would have been a hit and run had they not done that. But nevertheless, the police came. Uh, Hand them my insurance stuff. They go to run it, and this is when I find out that we don't have insurance on the truck. So luckily, I have my own local agent, and I call him up. Shout out to my man Ed Lehman. He's an area insurance rep, and he knew I let him know when I got the truck, John. He knew that I had the truck. Um, but he didn't do anything with it either for whatever reason. I think he might have been on vacation or something, and we just never reconvened. And I thought that it was already done anyway because I thought that the people at the dealership did it, so I didn't think anything of it. But because of that, we had some. He handled things and all of that. Everything got taken care of, but that could have been a complete disaster for me because it was on a um the insurance hadn't been transferred over. So do yourself a favor, man. Be a responsible person. Make sure you have the insurances. Make sure you have workman's comp or commercial policy for your auto stuff. Make sure you have workman's comp. Make sure you have your general liability because accidents are going to happen. And they're called accidents for a reason. You don't do it on purpose, obviously. It's an accident. And that's why we have insurance, so that when
Hmm.
accidents happen, we are protected. Your family's protected. You're the person out here trying to win in life, not just for yourself, but for your family, your future, and the world. The world will be a better place if you got the right insurances so that you can make your money, like we've been talking about a lot on this episode, and go out there and win in life and be a charitable giver. Payjack, it is now 11:30. I never expected this to happen for us to be on here this doggone long, but we got Fresh Cut Lawn says this is his first year going full time. He just got his shirts, his truck logos have paid for themselves, and he can't wait to try yard signs later this year. Shout out to you, Fresh Cuts,
Cool, man.
on taking that leap. But before we get you out of here, John, because I know me and you, we can go all night. I want to be respectful of your time. I know you're tired, but I see you got that energy. And if we don't
Hmm.
stop at some point, we might talk till tomorrow. And you know I got
We will talk to
ADHD.
tomorrow if we don't stop it. So
Yeah, I mean, literally, we got about 28 more minutes, and it will be tomorrow. So I want to get you out of here on this for someone who maybe is on the fence and they haven't started a business yet. Why should someone start a lawn care or any other service business this year?
I mean, you can. I'll tell you what. If I had my way, everybody would start at least one business in their life, just so that they could understand like what it really is in the real world when you're not counting on someone else to uh, create money, create jobs, things like that. One thing, I'm not exactly sure how the next few years are going to pan out, but I'm hopeful that things are going to kind of settle down a bit because the past 4 years have been crazy when it comes to inflation and everything. But it doesn't matter. You can't, if you have that fire in you to start something, don't say, well, I got to wait till we find out who the president's going to be. We're going to wait until the inflation chills out, or we're going to wait until don't wait. The longer, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you become a business owner, you are someone that is you're a problem solver now. It
Mm.
doesn't, I don't care what business you're in. You are no longer just, you know, I hate to say like a 9 to 5er, or, somebody that has a traditional job, punches in at 9 and then goes home and clocks out at 5 o'clock and goes home and does whatever, sits down in front of the TV and does whatever the hell they do. Um, you become a problem solver, and your job is to figure out how to make it. Okay. So I think, no matter what, it doesn't matter what kind of economy it is. It doesn't matter what, if you got a fire in your heart that you need to start something, you want to do something different, don't hesitate. Just get started. You don't have to look at, like keeping up with the Joneses. You don't have to have the brand new power wagon. You don't have to have all you don't have to have everything perfect right away. I would suggest just understand the fundamentals and just go do something. Even if it's a part-time job, you don't have to jump completely into the water. You know, um, you could have a side hustle and just work your way into it. Move at the speed of cash if that's what's required. Because many of us, that's what we did. We had a 9 to 5 job, but then we did something to add for whatever reason it is, it's like, do you want to just make more money? Do you, so we used to call it, you want to make beer money? You go out on the weekends and do a couple jobs and get beer money, just enough to like buy some extra groceries or whatever. Maybe you're saving up for something, a vacation, and it's a short-term goal, right? Other guys, they want to just be able to take care of their family a little bit more. In their current job, they're not making enough, and they just supplement it with a side hustle. A mowing is probably one of the lowest barrier to entry out of all of the green industry services. Most places you don't need a license. There's no certification to mow lawns. Depending on where you're at, like we have to have contractors licenses for each one of the towns that we work in, but they're not too bad. It's like like $100 for a contractor's license. Again, you have to have to get a contractor's license. You have to show insurance and have a bond and have all these other requirements. But workman's comp insurance and stuff, if you have employees or if you're just working by yourself, you can get a workman's comp exemption for them. But I would just do it. Just don't wait for everything to be perfect. Don't wait, because it's never, ever, ever going to be perfect. And you don't know what you don't know until you know it. I know that sounds insane, but the thing is, it's like, if you could go out and get a little bit of experience, just taste it. If you can work for somebody else, that's even better. They're taking more of the risk than you are. You can learn from them and then leave and start your own thing. That's what most of the guys that end up working for me do. They might not even stay in the lawn care industry, but they, some of my best employees I've helped them get their other businesses started.
Yeah.
So, all in all, don't listen to everybody else when it comes to, it could be positive or negative, but I would suggest, if you feel that you want to do this, do it, because if you don't, you're going to have regret. And guess what? You will always remember the regret. You don't kick yourself about like the things that you actually went out and did, even when they're a mistake. It's like, well, at least I tried, and if you put 100% into it and you're actually making a true attempt to make something work, you won't have the regrets. Maybe you go, man, I wish I would. A perfect example of this, the first time I started my own business was early 2000s. I thought I needed extra money. Because I was like, I do this for my boss now. He makes this money. I could probably do the same thing because I'm doing it already. Didn't know anything about the business side and buried myself, right? I ended up getting out. Luckily, I kind of broke even. I still had a little bit of debt, but I got out a lot cleaner than other people have. But then I just had this pit in my stomach for years. I went from doing that. I went back into working for him. I worked for him for like another year. I went to school. I ended up teaching at a college, left that, went into construction, and then I had a couple unfortunate incidents happen, and I'm like, I never got almost killed in lawn mowing. Let me go back to that. And I also had something to prove. I told my wife, I'm like, I was leaving a very, very good job, very high pay, really good benefits. I said, I got to scratch this itch. I'm like, if I don't, I will be on my deathbed going, I wish I would have done this. So with all that being said, I know I've taken a very long path, but if this is something that's important to you, if you feel it in your gut, listen to your gut. Just do it. Matter of fact, one of the big motivators for me. Do you remember when Shia LaBeouf did that? He was going crazy at the time, and he's like, "Do it, just do it." And
Don't
they made
let
a
your
meme
dreams be dreams.
Exactly. During that same period of time, that happened, and I was like, I know this is embarrassing to say, but that actually resonated with me, and I said, you know what? Even though he's a nut job, I'm going for it. I got to do this. I got to prove something to myself. If it doesn't work out after a couple of years, I could always go back to construction. And after, I think after the first year, I threw that out the window. I said, there's no plan B anymore. We're just going. Even though there was sort of a contingency plan, I'm like, you know what? I'm making this work this time. And even though I still fumbled the ball a couple times, it's like, no, I'm in the zone now. I know this. It's working. I'm making money. I feel I have this satisfaction. And then especially when the Lord put me in the right position to not only help myself, but then to start helping others along the way that are on the same mission I was on.
Mhm.
I'm like, this led me down another path, and this is where I'm at now. If I wouldn't have taken that step, you never know. I'm not saying that everybody's going to start in the lawn care business and then move on to other things, but it's always a possibility because there's so many of us that have started in this industry, and we have gone on to amazing things that we never would have thought about. Like if you would have asked me, 10 years ago, that I would be traveling the country, helping others with their businesses to be more profitable, speaking at summits, speaking at conferences, having the podcast where I have, every episode, hundreds and hundreds of people listen to it, and I'm helping their businesses grow. I would have said, you're crazy. I just mow lawns. I make tall grass short. That's what I would have told you.
Man.
So I have, making the impact not only for my lawn care clients, who, by the way, anytime I see them, they come out and they hug me. Even if I'm not servicing their lawn, okay, like my guys will be doing it. They'll come out, and because I've built relationships with them over the years, I've impacted their lives too. I've made their life easy, and I give them the attention that they want. And a lot of people are like, you're nuts. You're just the lawn care guy. And it's like, yeah, but for some reason I'm different. And I've impacted people's lives in a different way. And then when it comes to the business owners, I've impacted their lives as well. So you never know where it's going to take you. So long story short, just do it.
That was amazing way to end that thing, Payjack. Where can everyone find you, and make sure you don't forget to plug the budgets, break evens, and bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, I have a podcast, Profits with Payjack. It is on every single podcast library. We do 3 episodes a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You get fresh stuff every week. So check that out. If you're interested in my other things about budgets, break evens, and bottom lines, or yard book training, those are available at my website, johnpayjack.com. So those are, uh, two ways to get a hold of me. You could always go to profitswithpayjack@gmail.com if you want to, write a message, connect with me. That's probably the best way to do it. I have Facebook, I have Instagram, but if you want to really reach out to me, go through the email, because um, I don't really check my personal Facebook page. I don't check it. I just utilize that for my lawn care business and for the yard book user group that I have for free to help people solve their issues with learning how to use yard book there. So in a nutshell, those are the best ways to find me and learn more about me in a sense. So that, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you stopping past to share this knowledge. This might be the longest podcast I've ever done, which is a dope thing because now we're about to start lighting up them grass cutting go karts for those of us who are doing lawn maintenance services and things like that. And when you're out there, it's good to have something that's nice and long to listen to. So this is going to be one whole episode when it comes out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you may listen. Make sure you go follow my homie John Payjack. Sign up for the budgets, break evens, and bottom lines. You will definitely get your money's worth out of that. I know that because Alan Lemaire actually said it on the show, nice and live. And I already know that Payjack has helped hundreds of people to get their money right so that they could live like no one else and also give like no one else. As always, Pajak, you know I got so much love for you. I appreciate you, and I wish you nothing but more success. We'll see you next time, homie.
Thank you, brother. Same reciprocation, man. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you next time. All right.
Yes, sir. Peace. All right, now we got to get to the last shot. Payjack absolutely crushed it. I don't even know how long. We've been on here for 2 hours and 44 minutes. I have a little thing up here at the top, but you know, we got to get to the last shot. As always, Payjack said something earlier that Shia LaBeouf said in a reel that I seen a long time ago. All right, a long time ago. And what he said was, don't let your dreams be dreams. One of the worst things that you can do is not do something and then have that regret. I know what it feels like because that was me before I started my business. I wanted to be a basketball player, I wanted to be a football player. I wasn't good enough. I'm okay with saying that now. But I had some big regrets because maybe I didn't work hard enough. Maybe I didn't study well enough. And maybe I didn't take those opportunities that were put in front of me to do something else. But guess what? It's okay because all of those experiences, those failures that happened in my life created the man that you see sitting here today. And now I don't live in regrets. So don't let your dreams be dreams. Use your imagination and be ready for the opportunities because those who knock on the door of opportunity will eventually find the right one and change their life. As always, I love you. I appreciate you. I wish you nothing but success. And remember, the creator created you to be creative. So go out there and create what you want in your life because your boy is tired and I'm out.